Okay, let's begin.
Let's begin. Okay.
Yeah, so welcome to the show Eat with the Owner.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And today is I guess, episode 41.
Okay.
It's a lot of long, boring stories before.
I'm sure there were a lot of interesting stories too.
And so it start with how does, your name is Monica Hamburg, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, I followed you on Instagram.
Thank you. I see that and I get excited. I'm like, this is
You
good.
still want to do a bit closer?
Oh, okay. Absolutely.
We don't have that COVID 2-meter thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. We're fine, is what you're saying? COVID's done, right?
I guess so, because even it's not done, it seems like a lot of people, they don't care that much anymore.
Yeah, I think that is exactly what's happened.
Yeah. But I guess right now it's today's Boxing Day, right? It's December, I guess little bit like a flu and the COVID. And another thing is, what is the S?
MERS, the camel flu, or no?
There's another SRV, whatever the kind of the system, breathing system. What is the?
Oh, great. SARS? Not SARS.
No, it's not. It's common, the kind of another kind of disease, but not crazy. But it's all three combined together.
It's like Pokemon. We have to collect all of them.
Yeah.
We can't just have one. We need to have like 6 of them. I don't even know the one you're talking about. I'll look it up and then get really horrified.
There are 3 all working together right now.
Nice. So, collaboration.
You can have any one of them or 3 of them all together.
Oh, this is just, what a time to be alive.
It's a good mix.
Good mix. Well, thank you for doing this. It's fun.
Okay, great. So it's amazing because I saw you, I guess how I found you is I went to at the water, there's a comedy nest, right?
Yes, the comedy nest.
I went twice. One time you were there, I believe, and then I kind of searched it on Instagram. Yeah.
That's so lovely.
It's amazing.
That's really flattering. Well, you're one of my favorite. I know you're not the restaurant. I was going to say you're one of my favorite restaurants, but you're one of my favorite restaurants. And then you as an owner, I really like because I love your menu. So when you started following me on Instagram, I was like, this is kind of really cool.
Oh,
This is really,
I always
it's
like
good
comedy.
energy.
Comedy is a really, as I said, it's a really amazing way for people doing the comedy. They put themselves out there,
Yeah.
making fun of themselves, making fun of everything laughable.
Yes.
But,
yeah, and I mean, there is something to admire in that, but then there also is performers need a lot of attention. So some of it comes from that place too, that it's not necessarily all the altruism of wanting to make people laugh. Sometimes it's actually
attention.
Yeah, 15, at least there's a big percentage of
Okay.
needing attention and needing validation from people and living your life needing the adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
So there's lots of great stuff about it, but it is also funny that there's that negative where it's they're adrenaline junkies.
Okay. But some people, they're very, I'm pretty sure you're going to love Dave Chappelle as well, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure a lot of people doing this business.
Yeah.
But he's amazingly natural.
That's the
That's
thing.
a talent, it looks like.
I think so. But I also think probably lots of experience. I mean, the more stage experience you have, the more years under your belt, you get more and more comfortable.
But even people think when he was 14, 15,
See,
very young, he was very cool as well.
Oh, see?
And he was in Montreal a lot of times at the beginning of his career, something like that, I was told.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I listened a lot of that stuff.
That's cool.
So, yeah.
I always admire that. That's always been so strange, is when you start out and you're terrible, and then you see people that are starting out and they're already really good right away, and you're like, oh no, that's not fair. How did you start out well? It's very admirable, but it's an odd thing to be so magical and competent as a comedian right away.
Interesting. To save some time, we can start ordering.
Oh, I thought you might pick out all the stuff. And I was it's a collaboration.
It's better for you to pick, so you can try something.
Okay.
Risk-free things,
Oh, I mean, I'm fairly adventurous, but I have to tell you, my favorite things. My favorite thing is your menu, and then also the food. Your menu is amazing. If anyone doesn't know, you have to look up your menu. It's pretty amazing. But my favorite ones are the 3-cup chicken. I think that's amazing. And then also, I believe
that one has bones. Is that good for you?
I love that, yes.
Okay. But in front of camera, is that?
I mean, I'm a messy eater anyway. I'm not sure it will matter.
Okay.
I think it will matter.
Yeah.
That'll just be footage of me eating messily, I think. I don't know. Are you okay with that? You
For
see-
sure, 100%.
Yeah. Or can you like eventually blackmail me with this? You know, if I ever get famous, you will be able to you'll send out this footage and be like, "This is, I have her eating extremely messily."
That's amazing. We're not from royal family.
I'm definitely not from a royal family. That one's my favorite, and then I don't want to order this right now just because I've probably had enough. But spicy diced chicken is another one of my favorites. I think you guys do it unbelievably. It's so good. Anyway, so those my favorite is the 3-cup chicken. So you tell me what you love.
Do you want to try the dry fried green beans?
Sure. Sure. Whatever you like that you think is best. I
You can
think.
pick another one because we're gonna drink a little bit, so it's easier to order a little bit more.
Okay.
Have a lot of time.
Tell me something else you like.
It's very popular. The other one is cumin beef, very popular.
That's really good. I've had it and it's good. Yes. That's delicious. I love cumin.
What else? This one, did you try the rice cooked pork?
Nope. I haven't.
That one is the pork, obvious, but it's also from pork belly and oily and a little bit spicy, not too much oil.
Not too much oily, or
No,
it is too
you don't like too much
I don't
oil.
want too much
Okay,
oil.
okay,
Yeah, but
that's
otherwise
good.
it sounds really good.
Yeah, that's let me see. That's always the thing I warn people against.
Mm. Is it something? Yeah, I've noticed that in the menu too, and it's really good to have that because sometimes you're like, yeah, I don't want to.
After the last year, we had the lucky publicity because of the menu.
Yes.
I made a video to explain every dish.
Oh my God.
So
I haven't seen that yet.
So easier for people, customer, if they are waiting or have extra minutes, want to see what's going on with that dish.
Oh,
so it's,
cool. That's amazing.
easier for them.
It's so helpful. I mean,
How about spicy?
I love spicy. Oh, very spicy. I'm happy with that.
Do you try this Sichuan spicy pot? That also with the Sichuan popcorn.
Sounds. Oh, okay. Yes, the one that makes your tongue numb.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, let's
Try
do that. Yeah.
That's amazing. Steamed rice as well.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Okay, keep this.
Child here, guys. Did you know
Okay.
there's a child here? If you don't hear me talking the way I normally do, there's a child here.
So the camera will go on. I need to go downstairs anyway. I need to bring the sake.
That's okay. I will have a.
Yeah.
If I admit any
Have a-
criminal activities.
What is that called? The solo. What is that called? The monologue.
Monologue, yeah, and also
That's
I'll
your
admit,
monologue time.
I'll just talk about all my crimes, all the crimes I've committed. I'll say right now. This is a character I'm playing. A person warmly looking at their coffee or tea, just contemplating some Meisner exercise. Sake. Yay.
We had yesterday we had only one day off for me. And we had friends coming over to our place. We have the Chinese hot pot. So
Oh wow.
I guess
So you're cooking even on your day off?
No, the hot pot. The good thing is like you just put it up in boil.
Okay.
So we had a lot of meal. So ate a lot. Usually I don't eat too much, but today we eat a lot again. So 2 days in a row. That's a sacrifice for this video.
Oh no! I don't want you to sacrifice. Don't
It's always
that
that case. No, I sacrifice every time.
This is your sacrifice for your art. This is, what we all do.
This is for the video. Yeah.
I don't know if you'll be able to. You can hear me okay?
That should be.
We test? Okay. I'm doing a thing where it's like muzzled, and at the end it would be like, oh, why did we have a mic? But I will put it on the exterior. It's probably a better idea. There we go.
Great. Let's do sake.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Cheers.
Cheers. It's a holiday.
Yes.
So So as usual, normally I do this. In this little podcast, like people tell their stories. I ask your story. You can ask me questions.
Okay.
I tell my story. Your story is kind of a. So your name Monica Hamburg, right?
Yes.
The Hamburg, is that anything close to McDonald's?
No. So okay. So,
why do they call Hamburg?
So it's a German. It's the place in Germany, Hamburg.
Okay, so McDonald's is coming from Germany.
I don't know what McDonald's comes from. I mean, the hamburger itself, it must have some sort of background, one would assume, with the name.
It's a famous family name? It's a popular family name?
Okay, it's complicated. So my family's Hungarian, and a lot of Hungarians do have German names. This is a...
Hungarian is the country with a lot of art, right? A lot of...
I mean, yes and no. It has a reasonable amount of art.
Yeah.
It's a tiny little country, tiny country
the
near
musicians
Poland.
or something.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I saw some famous musicians
Probably.
from that.
There's a lot of people, a lot of refugees come from Hungary that created some art in the music. I believe I'm trying to remember if Irving Berlin or people like that, but there was a lot of I believe 40s or 50s musicians that are from Hungary. I don't. Working with my memory is the worst, but yeah. So my name is. I changed my name. I grew up with the name Hamburger, but it was terrible to grow up with that name. So I cut the last 2 letters off when I turned 18. I filed to have my name legally changed.
Yes, but for me, a second language English,
yes.
it doesn't make too much difference, to be honest.
Right, no, I understand that. I mean, for me it was so important because I was just tired of feeling like anytime someone learned my name, it was embarrassing. Like every time I had to introduce myself in class and they said my name and everyone would turn around and laugh, and I was like, it was already...
I just realized that's a different word. I thought it was Hamburg. It's already hamburger.
No, they're two different words.
I did not realize. That's why you can tell it's my...
It's totally fine. So yeah, that's the thing. For me, that was very important. I never really thought about it in terms of people coming from other countries. It was just my own little world about it. So yeah, but the name itself is German. So I believe people that come from Hamburg, the town in Germany, would be called hamburgers, just which is now very funny to think about. But yeah,
but you were born here, right?
I was born here, absolutely.
Montreal.
In Montreal specifically, yeah.
So you speak French as well, I suppose.
This is like every question I'm going to answer is going to be, well, it's complicated. So I did speak French tolerably, but I lived elsewhere in Canada and the US for 20 years. So now when I came back a few years ago, my French is super terrible. I'm just really struggling with it.
Seriously,
yeah.
I feel good now.
You feel right? Feel very proud of yourself.
You make people feel good because you're born here, you don't speak French.
Not perfectly. No, I mean it is my 3rd language, so it's still not easy. But yeah.
So what is the second language?
Hungarian was my 2nd language.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I mean, again, I've never had to really function in Hungarian, so it's never been. That's easier when you don't.
Yeah, it's not a huge population here in Montreal, so you don't have a lot of chances.
Exactly, and the population can be problematic. So I don't always associate with Hungarians because they're not the most upbeat people, and they have a lot of ideas about people that aren't from Hungary. So those conversations are difficult.
Yeah, I was told from certain regions people really stiff, a little bit tough. Is that the...
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all those countries
have tough mentality.
Yeah, I mean, all those countries, have very negative experiences of wars and, Russian oppression. And so the people from there get very cynical, obviously, if your country's constantly at war and
How is that today even? Do you through your parents, or you interested knowing that country?
Okay, so I'm last time I was there was almost about 36 years ago when I was 12. So, and I did not enjoy any time I've been there because it's different, because it's so bureaucratic and regimented, and I've lived in Canada my whole life, and so it was very uncomfortable. But there's beautiful things about it, and the people I think are probably a little bit more lively now. I saw a great movie from there. I think it's called something like A Reunion at the End of the World. It's an amazing film about, I'm just trying to remember what it's called. It's very it's a very long title, like A Consequences or A Reunion at the End of the World. And it's it's filmed now, and this woman goes back to Hungary because she is in love with this man, and one of the first things they say in the film when she's looking for a job as a doctor, as a surgeon, is how much sexism she's going to face. And I was like, that's amazing. That has not changed. That's still a thing as a woman you would experience in 2023 there. So I feel like that must be based in reality, that if the filmmaker is putting it in there.
I thought Europe was more progressive.
Europe is, but Eastern Europe isn't.
That different?
Very different. Very different. I mean...
But on the kind of overall, like the scale, Canada is very progressive, right? So same level of Europe, I guess. The Western Europe is more progressive.
Much more progressive, yeah.
Seriously.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So how did they elect kind of a prime minister, the lady for Italy, right?
Well,
totally on the right.
Exactly.
On the right side.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that everybody in Western Europe is fantastic. I mean, it's just that by comparison, it feels like maybe I'm wrong. There are different places in Eastern Europe, but each one of them is so individual. Poland is very different than Hungary.
Oh, wait.
You thought it was Poland, right?
No. Is the Hungary president is the only one opposing the EU for the? He's
also I believe.
He's a little bit pro Putin. Is that?
Yeah, I mean.
That's the only
the Hungarian guy, I'm pretty sure, is also like an anti-Semite, and I mean that
he's
obviously
the only
is
one.
racism.
No, the Europe Union, they want to pass something for Ukraine. He's the only one holding them back. Right? Vetoed. Vetoed. He's one vote against, so they cannot pass.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
okay, I totally did.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna look that up again. I'm less informed. I just know that I'm never impressed by what they're doing there.
That's why, you said like totally a lot of kind of a conservative there, I guess.
It is conservative.
That's interesting. So as the Europe, like East West, that could be that different on this.
Absolutely. Well, remember like West Germany and Eastern Germany when they were divided, how like one was much more progressive than the other during that time, right?
But they do very well after that, right?
After that, they're doing great. I mean, I really want to visit Berlin. It seems amazing. But yeah,
that's amazing. So how do you like you grew up here and then the school, like all the time, like primary, secondary school there in Montreal?
Yes, I left when I was 20, so I went through all my basic education here, even Cégep, and then I left. Yeah,
Cégep is interesting,
isn't it? It's such a weird system, but kind of cool.
Yeah, it's cool, but it's very different.
I know, because nothing else in Canada is like that. What's been your experience with that? I mean, your daughter's young, so she's
after 2 or 3 years, probably gonna think about even now, like grade 4. She's grade 4, so we think about secondary school already.
Okay.
Like, a lot of Chinese parents very crazy on education.
Of course.
Very crazy.
Yeah. It's very important, you know.
From that early, you have to know the CEGEP system, where to choose. Like they have something you focus on, and then next step go to which university.
Yeah, but I mean, in the same time, what I think, and one of my friends who's a teacher feels this way as well, is that it gives you the opportunity when you're younger to still kind of figure things out, have a little bit of space between.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, you can choose to do the career right away, or you can continue the university.
Yeah, and then it's also so nice to have that space where you can figure things out, because it's hard for kids to go on this track where okay, now you're going to be, let's say, a scientist or whatever, and you don't have a lot of space to explore what you're interested in.
Yeah.
And I think that CEGEP gives people that space, and while you can still kind of be a bit more, like, still be immature, right? You don't have to be as determined. I mean, I was always obsessive, but I think that it gives children a little bit more leeway, and I think that's healthy.
A lot of times it's weird. I don't know. It's to explain things we used to call it, if it exists, it has a reason.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's very generous, because sometimes when you find out things exist, you're like, that actually, the reason isn't good.
Yeah, exactly. Something really bad.
Really bad reasons.
Really bad. Evil.
Yes, exactly. But I believe that CEGEP is great, and I'm surprised that we are the only province that has that, because it's so useful.
But there's now the controversial, controversial, they said certain people, kids cannot go to the English CEGEP, right?
Yeah, they've always done that with basic education for a long time. I know you've had that experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but so now CEGEP, of course.
For the kids growing up here.
Of course.
So she's great. She's speaking French perfectly.
It's fantastic.
Yeah,
It's invaluable.
I'm learning French from
her. Yeah, I've heard that a lot from people. That's awesome.
Yeah,
but then Cégep, yeah, they're trying to pass something where you can only go to French Cégep if you're
I guess my daughter gonna go to French Cégep.
Okay.
I believe because we're not qualified as a English speaker, right?
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, you speak French, right? Medium.
If officials ask, I say yes.
Oh yeah, no, we're on camera, so I also speak perfect French and have spoken perfect French my whole life. So.
So,
but okay, fair
the
enough.
level point two level.
Level point. You think so? You're level point two.
I can the parler, le mabelle, or like parler français,
Oui, on parle français.
Or the level, parlez-vous anglais?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
And how is it? How is it? So I met somebody who told me that he was from Ontario. Well, he was from Haiti originally, but then they moved to Ontario for a while. And then I think to Quebec. And so he said his experience what was really challenging was his child had to go to French school, but then when he had to go to like the parent-teacher meetings, he couldn't speak the same language as the teacher. So what's that like? I
went there once. Like they did try all the teachers. They always start with French all the time. But if I had to ask question like English, they're okay to they're willing. Teachers really nice. To be honest.
I'm glad.
All of them, or most of them bilingual. So they're willing to answer you in English. But fortunately, my wife speaks French relatively well. So she studied French like as a second foreign language. We have first foreign language English.
Okay.
Most students Chinese. So she had the opportunity to have a second foreign language, so French. So when we came here, she had a basic French already. So in the French system, she picked up really well. So she went to a college from La Salle. She did the courses in French.
Okay.
So after 3 years, two or 3 years in La Salle College, her French was very, very good.
That's amazing. Good for her.
So for the school parents meeting, always her, not me.
And you listen. You listen. Can you understand it better than you speak it?
No, always other way around. Always I can speak. I need a helping. I can ask for help in French. Most of the cases I can read a lot because a lot of close to it. I know the grammar. I spend a lot of time learning the grammar by myself. But the listening always is the difficult part.
Interesting. Okay, because my experience is different. Is that I understand, but again, I grew up learning it. I can understand it perfectly still. It's the speaking that's challenging. So that's
the immersion problem.
That's what it is. Interesting. Okay.
It's for me, it's totally opposite. No. Even the English too.
Oh wow. Okay. Interesting.
It's even the English. Like sometimes that's why I keep learning English. It's like the speaking part. I'm okay. It just sometimes you have to search for a right word or something. But the listening sometimes still, get some people if they have some slang or like too fast.
Yeah, that's the challenge. Yeah. When it's too fast,
some they have a little bit accents or something.
Yeah, they're not speaking like sometimes they're not enunciating perfectly, and you're like, oh no, this is not going to work for me.
Yeah, it's a good thing I came here almost 17 years.
Okay.
So I'm 43 years old.
Okay. Yeah. You're younger than me. Okay.
So it's for me it's always like learning. The English learning English is my hobby. To be honest, I try to because my Mandarin is pretty good.
Yeah.
My Chinese is pretty good.
Yeah. So your English is really good.
I don't need to improve my Chinese anymore.
You're good. You can stop now. Yeah.
A lot of room to improve though. There's ancient Chinese. If you really want to into it, the Chinese language itself for Chinese people very difficult to improve, to learn. But English, really learning English is amazing. For me, it's like to know a lot of information in the English world. It's amazing. It's
exceptional that you can speak English. Is it? Do you still translate things in your mind, or you just?
I guess it started 10 years ago or one night I had a dream in English. So.
My God, right? That's when they say they say you've mastered a language. When you start dreaming.
Just like I read a lot of books, English books. I watched a lot of English shows. So sometimes I had the logic in the dream. I was kind of calculating in my mind. In English. Sometimes in the dream, I knew I was dreaming.
Yes, of course.
I-
I've had those dreams too. Not
Yeah,
always,
yeah,
but yeah, sometimes.
One thing really bad about to happen. I told myself in the dream, "Is this a dream?
Yes.
It's not scary."
Yeah, exactly.
It happened to me several times.
Okay.
But when I realized I had a dream in English, like I was doing English conversation, next morning I find, my English is improving.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's very cool. I don't think I've ever had a French dream or a Hungarian dream. I think I've always dreamt in English, but I think it's also because I'm.
But recently, always majority 99% of dreams, like last night, I guess in Chinese.
Yeah.
Still.
But even just the one is like that's people say that's when you know a language. Is when
that's a fake cup chicken and this spicy hot what is the Sichuan spicy pot.
Amazing! I'm so excited. Thank you so much.
And then when I came here, I realized like a lot of content on the internet. It's really amazing. Like especially the American, United States. I followed a lot of. That time I was reading a lot of news from CNN to. The reading is very big, a very good way to improve English vocabulary, the way of organizing sentences. So like I spent a lot of reading CNN website, also the Wikipedia.
Wow. Okay.
I'm a big reader on Wikipedia.
That's so huge.
Yeah, to learn new words and also to know the history of some events or something.
That's amazing. Well, that's a very beautiful quality, the curiosity, because I think that makes a huge difference in.
You want to try that?
Yeah, of course. I think that's kind of something that I find very admirable is when people are curious to learn things. It makes a huge difference. It's like I want to know more than I know, right? And some people don't want to know more than they know, but it's a great quality to do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you for your help. Does your daughter already know what she wants to do when she grows up? Does she have ideas?
Every once in a while I would ask her. At the beginning was zookeeper, ambulance driver. At the beginning.
These are both great jobs. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Zookeeper. Oh, recently is what is that? Is a vet. What is that called?
Veterinarian.
Yeah, veterinarian.
Yeah. Oh, those are great. Would you be okay with any of those?
I think she's gonna change.
She might change, but what if she didn't? Would you be okay with
I
those?
think she'll be fine. I really, but a lot of parents, I think, I know they all wish them to be successful. The lawyer.
Yes, doctor, lawyer. Those are the two popular ones.
The lawyer's the hardest.
Yeah.
they care about winning, lose. They don't care about morals.
It's not a health. It's not a. I mean, I know a lot of lawyers. I used to work as a legal assistant, and it's a tremendously unhealthy profession. And I mean, a lot of jobs are.
It's very unhealthy, especially the criminal lawyers. You know, you are defending a bad guy.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, where they kind of
all the dirty secrets, but you cannot tell.
But then also, what the part that's admirable about that is that they genuinely believe in the justice system. So they believe everybody has the right to a fair trial, whether they're guilty or innocent. They have. You should be able to. You can't just go in and get charged, and so they believe in the authenticity of the system, which that's where a lot of these.
But sometimes one side is lawyers. The skills better than the other side.
Yes,
so
I know. It doesn't.
That does not reflect the truth sometimes.
Oh, no. The justice system's totally a mess. But that's the only thing I can say in defense of defense lawyers, which sometimes I get furious when I watch trials. But that's the only thing I can say in defense is some of them really believe that everybody has the right to a fair trial because you can't determine it without it.
Exactly. You have to have a fight, like a game. You have to have it's a referee, you have both sides.
Exactly.
Try their best.
And so they feel like, okay, a lot of times people get railed. And sometimes the defense lawyers are doing a really good job because someone isn't guilty and they happen to be discriminated for whatever reason or they look guilty. But yeah, I'm on the same page a lot of times when I see trials. I'm like, oh, it's so frustrating that this person has a lawyer that is going to advocate for them when they're clearly guilty, when they're doing something really bad. And then they can get off because their lawyer is good. And that's just so disappointing.
Yeah, that's not some mistakes or errors that always happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not. Yeah, it doesn't mean the system has some issues.
Mm.
You always have people win or lose.
Mm. True.
As long as the referee is kind of trying the best to do the right calls. Judges, it's fine.
Which I think is a little better here, although not great. But with the U.S., where they're elected, where the I believe the judges and the lawyers are elected, I think that makes it much more corrupt because they won't have a track.
Interesting. I did not know that until recently. I thought
Okay.
they're all like either appointed or through their track records or resume. You know, it's kind of a consensus. But if you try to win popularity to be a judge, that's kind of a little bit problematic, right?
Well, and even with the lawyers, the defense lawyers, where it's not defense lawyers, sorry,
It's the
prosecution.
DA, prosecution, DA.
Then you are more concerned with a track record of looking like you won than actually looking at whether someone's innocent or guilty. And that's why a lot of people do get railroaded in the U.S.
I guess I saw a lot of movies saying like, oh, this prosecutor has a good record, you know.
I think like it took me a long time to even realize those things were happening too. I always believed that when I was younger, I believed everybody who was in jail, who was charged with murder especially, these people are all guilty. And I was like, well then good, whatever happens to them, I don't care. But now, you know.
The judges, I really don't understand why it's elected. I thought it has to be really respected, you know, like elderly, right?
Right.
Because you always
so much experience.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you are the referee of the game. You cannot like let's like popular votes to see who's going to be the referee. You have to choose the best in the history, whatever the tribes, right?
Yeah.
You have to respect the elders, like a 100 years old guy saying like, oh, if you two family, you got two guys fighting. I'm the 100 years old, and I did a lot of good things in the past. And then if you come to me, you tell your stories. You know, I say like, you are the, you know, give him $5.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you have the life experience to assess whether someone's right or wrong. One would hope, in that, you know, one is assuming in that case. But yeah, it was very naive about the justice system for a long time. You know, it's frustrating because now I'm like, oh, I can't even figure out who's guilty or innocent. That doesn't make you feel good.
Is that good?
It's amazing. Thank you. It's so amazing.
But you have when you're 20 years old, you left Montreal. You're pursuing a college, university somewhere else.
I did the best financial decision anyone could imagine, which is I went to New York to be an actor. So I went to study acting in New York. The worst financial decision ever. That's what I wanted.
A lot of people pursuing that career is like they come from rich family.
Yeah, and I did not. I put myself.
But you understand that logic, right?
Yeah.
It's like you don't worry about the financial part of the family.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I obviously had some support from my family, not that they wanted to, but that they acquiesced, which was still very nice of them and something a lot of people don't have. And then I also put myself in a considerable amount of debt for the rest of my life, which I only got out of like 8 years ago. Yeah, To
me, I'm from a really poor family. It's a village. You know, the 1980s, 1970s, the poor village of China.
Okay.
So from after the senior high school, we have to go through the national SAT, the exam, and then you choose what university and which major you want to study.
So is it dictated by how well you did?
Yes, by the score.
Okay.
Like
wow.
We have 5 main subjects. That time, my time, they always change the rules, change the exams. Okay. So we had 5 subjects: the Chinese, mathematics, English. We choose chemistry and physics. So 5, each one of 150 points. So total 750 points.
Okay.
So if you do 600, it's pretty good.
Okay.
So top people from our school or even in the country, they do the best. They do a little bit above 700.
Okay.
That's really amazing. So you have 750, you get more than 100 points. I did about around 708 range. So it's like so you can pick good schools, the top 10, top 15, top. So that time the art was, you know, we all say like studying art is for the people don't worry about the money, or you cannot find job right away. Studying art. So I picked the computer science right away.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, because I have to support my family instead of them supporting me.
That's so lovely.
Yeah. So
how old do you have to? Remind me again. What did you say about how old you have to be when you take these tests? 16 or
18. So
it's so much pressure, isn't it?
they're always 18, like 18 or 19, depends like what month.
Okay. So this explains a lot, because I know that Chinese culture and a lot of Asian cultures are very, very focused on children succeeding very early on. But that makes sense given that your system is designed that...
Even today, we still have the system we call national, I don't know what's it, but SAT is kind of standard test, right? So we can national, it's a national level. The same 3 days, I guess 2 subjects each day, the morning, afternoon. So everybody, all students from that grade, doing that test for the 3 days.
And you guys have longer school hours, right? That's what I was learning recently. Your school days are longer than Americans?
I guess it's usually supposed to be the same, but after school, all the parents, not all, but most of them, they send to the extra classes to get, a little bit going ahead.
Yeah. Well, that's what's sort of interesting, is that, you know how it is, like, you know better than I do, just how people stereotype with Asians, where they're like, oh, they're really good at math. And it's like, well, that doesn't come because they're born good at math. It comes because there are societal pressures, and then also they work very hard.
Yeah, they really kind of focus on. But I guess 2013, 15, when the country developed so well, so a lot of middle class families in the city. So they think it's shifting as well. So a lot of parents, they, instead of putting their kids let them improve on the mathematics or Chinese or English, they always focus.
Yep, that makes sense.
But then a lot of family, they put their kids to learn piano, music, the swimming, all those kind of extracurriculum stuff.
Okay.
Give them another level of competitive edge over, it's a lot of, even today, like if you are 15, 14 years old there, it will be the same here. Kids, they have a lot of skills. They got a lot of, even my daughter, she's playing piano, swimming, pretty well, skiing, horseback riding too. It's
all very important, and at the same time, you're like, oh, but they also need to be kids. Sometimes
that's the balance. The parents.
That's right.
We are
that's
off balance
one.
because the parents are off balance.
Yeah.
We're not mature.
That takes a long time for people to be mature. It doesn't always happen.
Even when we are 60 years, I don't think.
No, I agree. I'm tremendously immature, and I'm 48. So. You okay if I?
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially like I have a lot of friends, even myself. I still don't know how to, to deal with kids with the expectation or like.
This must be very hard.
Yeah. Because yourself, you think this is good, but in reality, that's my generation thinking. I have my confinements.
Of course. I mean,
I went through my life experience was kind of really hard. The rural area, the farming jobs, farming work, everything. But you don't, that experience, the idea about how to survive in this crazy world may not be the same to the, people growing up in Montreal. It could be very boring. I don't have skills. Some people, they are not.
Well, people have more leisurely life, right?
Exactly.
That's a whole different story, right? I mean, you were saying you have 1 day off a year. That is a very rare experience for a North American, as much as they're workaholics sometimes. I mean, to say 1 day off a year is it's unconscionable for most people. And
for me, it's kind of easy because but I call the city life is from the university time. It's a really big city, so that time is really city life. After I'm 18 years old.
Okay.
So from 18 to 30 something, it's like city life, big city, living big cities. But then all today I work really hard physical labor.
Yes.
It's coming from when I was a kid. So it's kind of natural for me. It's kind of life is a circle. Go back to my village.
And do you go often back to your village, or how's that?
Not easily. The travel very expensive, first of all.
I bet it is,
Time also.
Okay.
It takes a lot of time. It's not easy. Especially before having this restaurant, I went like every 3. I was planning every 2 or 3 years.
Okay. Before COVID is what you said.
Before having restaurant.
Oh, you have a restaurant. Okay.
Having restaurant is kind of your tide.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Your family lives there, I imagine. So.
My parents, my 2 older brothers.
Oh.
How is the acting working out?
Well, acting did, which is why I do comedy. But Yeah, acting's a hard industry. I mean, nobody tells you otherwise, so it's not like it should have been a shock to me.
But to make that decision yourself, or
Yeah, I mean, my parents wanted me to be a doctor or a lawyer. That was definitely like everybody else. But I really.
but when you have hard years at the beginning, did they tell you "I told you so"? Or
Oh, all the time. Oh, all the time. No, that's kind of been a big bone of contention with them because the thing is, no matter how hard it is what I really wanted, and I have never changed my mind about being in the arts. It's just I would always not recommend it to somebody unless they wanted it more than anything. Like if you can't imagine a reality where you're not performing, that's the only reason to do it. Because the idea that you'll be famous or you'll earn tons of money, that's not a reality for 99% of people.
99%.
It's always going to be a struggle, and obviously not as difficult a struggle as working all the time, but you're always going to be balancing two lives. If you want to earn money, you have a traditional job so that you're not starving, and then if you're
learn computer science.
Yeah, exactly, absolutely.
Very stable.
Yeah, learn computer science, learn a skill where you are valued, right? But then you're working two jobs as always, right? So no, that's been a bone of contention because it's like, well, it doesn't really matter that. It's going to be frustrating regardless. I don't need two people telling me how stupid I am. That gets tiring after a while. So at a certain point, I was like, well, we can't really talk if you keep telling me how I'm an idiot every time we call. That's very unenjoyable as a conversation. But yeah, I did want to be an actor, but I love performing. I'm not. I wanted to be an actor because I was very psychological here. Because I was deeply uncomfortable with who I was as a person. And so being somebody else was very exciting to me.
Very cool, yeah.
Yeah, someone else. And I like the idea of being different careers, exploring being a police officer, exploring being, and learning. And I'm very interested in learning about things, so it always gives me the opportunity to research a certain career, a certain personality. But a lot of it was being very uncomfortable with myself and wanting to, always be a character. And as someone who's older, I have gotten a lot more comfortable with who I am. So I don't need that part of it, although I do love acting. So, I do make my own little projects sometimes and give myself the opportunity to act, and that's fun. But I'm a bit agnostic about the arts in that I like doing a bunch of other things. So comedy is exciting, running my own shows is exciting.
At the big up, you studied 4 years, like a bachelor degree as well, or?
No, I went to a professional acting school because I'm a genius, and that was the way to make sure I ran out of money fast. No,
that's expensive. Right?
Yeah, I went to. It is. Yeah, I was like I said, significantly in debt for a long time in my life, and I'm sure my parents were thrilled about what they contributed, obviously. And then it was a struggle. It wasn't like I lived the high life when I was in New York. You live with rats, you make sacrifices, but it was always worth it for me. I love New York, and I love performing, and as a 20-year-old in acting school in New York, there's like nothing more exciting as a performer. That's the dream. So I would never take away those years. It's thrilling. Yeah. It's worth being in debt for the rest of your life, just because it's like, well, that's when you should have those experiences if you can, right? So that was But I had a point to that, and I don't know what that was. Yeah, I went to, there's a school called the Neighborhood Playhouse in New York, which is a very specific technique. It's called the Meisner technique, and it's a lot about reacting to, it's a short version of it, but reacting to things instead of it being about you, it's about responding to the other person. So you always have to be very present and in the moment. And that excited me a lot because I was so deeply self-conscious. So to put the focus on somebody else when I'm interacting with them was very exciting because it was like, I don't have to think about myself.
Okay.
I'm reacting to what you're feeling. I'm reacting to how you're behaving. So Meisner is very specific like that. And it's a weird technique, but it's very natural and exciting. And so that's the school where that was born because that's Sanford Meisner's school. So that's what I wanted to do. That's what I did for like 1 year, and then I went to another school that was more focused on film and television because I realized I wanted to do film and television more than theater, and that had the same technique. But yeah, so that's what I did.
But you did a lot of auditions. That very stressful?
Yeah, I think it's stressful. It means, especially I'm sure it's stressful no matter what. I feel that if you're in a country where you really want to make it work, you don't want to have to come back and be like, I'm a failure, I had to go back and I didn't achieve what I want, then every moment is such pressure because you're like, if only I got this one job, if only I can make it here in New York, I can make it here. But if only I can make it here, then if I keep moving forward, it won't be for nothing. I won't have spent all this money. I won't have, done something very stupid if I can make it. So it's a tremendous amount of pressure, obviously, but that's what I wanted. I'm not gonna, be a brat about it. It's something that I really deeply wanted. And so it was, auditioning was hard, but it also is wonderfully weird. It's such a weird skill to have this thing where you study these scenes and delve so deeply into the characters, and then you get called into an audition and you've got like 2 lines, where it's like,
only 2 lines?
Sometimes it's only 2 lines. Sometimes it's a day player role that you have to be. There's times where I've had to like walk into a room and see a dead body, and that was my whole audition. Because a lot of times I was like being.
That reminds me the Friends, the Joey from the Friends.
Yes, well, that was a great show, and his experiences were very real.
Yeah.
When people show like a real audition experience, it's so funny because there's a great interview way back when with Craig Bierko, who's not as famous as he should be, but he talks about, and I won't do this justice, but he talks about how like he has this audition. I don't think he understands what the audition is for until he gets there. They don't give him the sides, the script, and so they then tell him, well, his scene is that he just finds out that his wife was run over by a train. So he has to act that out, and he doesn't know how to do it because right away he's like, oh, I just showed up here. I didn't know I had to like do this emotional work. So he goes into the bathroom and he puts soap in his eyes to try to make himself cry, but he doesn't think about the fact that it's going to burn his eyes, and it doesn't burn until he goes right into the audition room, and then he starts acting, and then he's like, I can't believe this, and then he goes, ah! He starts to like lose his mind, and they think he's like the worst actor.
Worst? I thought it was a good one, maybe.
No, because they thought he was out of his mind because he had such an extreme reaction. He's such a charming guy. I think he was on Conan saying the story, but I was like, oh, that sounds right. Because you're desperate. You really want to do a good job. The auditions are not designed for you to be. The auditions are not designed for you. They're designed for the casting director to do it fast, and so sometimes to quickly have a lot of people that they see. You don't have the experience. To like really cultivate a character all the time. Sometimes you only find out what you're doing when you show up. It's not conducive to being great. So it's really like it's 2 totally opposite skills, being able to audition well and being able to perform well.
Maybe they test you like how you react, have to do it.
Sometimes, and how well you can be directed, right? Because even if you're a great actor, if you can only do it one way and the director wants you to do it a different way, then you can't do it.
Sometimes people too stubborn or something.
Oh, definitely. A lot of new actors too get like that, where it's like, well, I'm doing it the right way. It's like, oh. But I've had weird auditions where, you're supposed to see a body, as soon as you walk in. I had one where it was like, I was a teenager and I had to have killed my whole family. And it was just like, and then after the audition, they were like, okay, we'll let you know about, the callback, so which is the second audition. I'm like, well, if you haven't seen what I could do this first audition where everyone in my family has been killed by me, then I don't know what I can show you in the next audition. What's next? This is the most extreme we can go. It's a strange job.
Must be fun.
It is fun sometimes. It's fun because it's fun because, like you were talking about, you meet people that have kind of a passion for life in a certain way. Actors are a crazy bunch, but they so believe people should be able to be more expressive in daily life and that they're not allowed to be. And so a lot of it is like, well, I can express myself fully here. I can have a full argument and, there's no consequences. And that's very exciting. Because you have to be very professional in daily life, right? You can't just yell at people unless you're a CEO.
Yeah, exactly. CEO of a big corporation. Even small one, no.
Nope. CEO of a big corporation, male, white. You can maybe get away with all this stuff. Most of the time you can. And so it's very exciting to explore those things where you have a nervous breakdown and it's okay. Yeah.
But you must be in some productions you feel like you have the breakthrough moment or something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna think about that now because acting's been a while since I've done that. I have like a very small role in Underworld too, but it's very exciting because I play a Hungarian news reporter, so I had to speak Hungarian for the role,
Okay.
and then it was fun because it's like the director's Len Wiseman. He's he did all I believe the other two Underworld movies, famous director, and he was so kind, and it was really exciting also to meet somebody who was very famous, also terribly good looking, who was very kind, you know. It's like, oh,
But
I don't hear about that.
a lot of time they're fake to be nice, though.
Sometimes, but also.
That's my theory. Sometimes when people especially on the public figure,
they have to be.
Yeah, the more you try to appear so nice, so caring, so kind,
it's manipulative.
Truth could be the opposite.
Yeah, but I mean, you're a business person. You also have to be nice when you don't feel like
it. You don't doing that too much.
Okay.
You know? It's really? It's like you just like say a customer facing. You always like even some people really bad attitude. We just say goodbye. Nice and let's finish this. I don't want to see you anymore.
I mean, is that
at least you feel I'm not confronting anything. So anybody. So just let things go and then. Maybe thank you very much. Have a good day. No, I don't want to see you anymore.
Yeah, exactly. But do you ever say that? Do you ever say like,
no,
come
not
back?
At all.
Yeah,
no,
but then they can come back because they may not think they had a good experience. You didn't have a good experience with them. Yeah. In their head, they're like, this was fine.
But for like small business owner, you have to take care, make sure like you don't offend customers.
Absolutely.
Make them, But we don't pretend that much. To be honest, myself, I don't want to. It just make sure you have okay experience, not too mad. At least at least you don't get upset. Even the food is bad or some misunderstanding, you don't like our services. Something some people get upset, thought what we meant or something.
Yeah.
That's a lot of them coming from misunderstanding. But at least I know some people could be mean. People are different.
Of course.
But I always try my best to make them feel okay. I'm not saying that. I'm not reacting to any of that. But in my heart, I probably say, it's okay. We
differ.
We don't feel we're gonna see each other anymore.
Yeah, I'm not socializing with you.
Yeah.
My parents owned a small shop. They owned an optical shop on Sherbrooke when I was growing up, and I think they found it very hard to deal with people because people can be difficult.
Yeah.
So most people are not.
Yeah, some customers they suspect to something. They always,
suspicious.
Kind of suspicious. They thought you kind of hiding something.
Yeah. How do you go through life with that attitude?
Yeah. We see a lot of, but majority of them pretty nice. It's amazing. That's why it's a society always have tiny percentage of people.
Of course. Yeah.
But what I meant, the public figures like the politicians or the people, the public figures. A lot of times you see a lot of them, they act too nice, too kind. Most time it's opposite.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Some people, they act normal. They say regular things, regular, things to say like, if this guy is not, appear to be too nice, probably this guy is a nice guy.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I think like you feel that way as a woman. A lot of times when you see men and they constantly talk about how they're feminists, you're like, you're probably doing something else. You're probably a problem.
Yeah.
Because most people wouldn't have to say that. They'd just be like, of course I believe X, Y, Z, or they would, in their actions, you could tell. A lot of people, when they advertise, they're like, well, I'm a feminist and I believe, and you're like, okay, well, let's find out. And then you're like, oh yeah, you're a hypocrite, actually. That's not always the case, but you get suspicious after a while. Experience tells you.
Yeah, if you're nice, you don't have to say you're nice, right?
Agreed, absolutely. And if you're smart, you don't have to say you're smart. People should be able to pick up on those things.
Yeah. So how many years you've been in the acting field?
I spent a long time doing that. Like I lived in New York for 5 years, and then
Is that really expensive?
Yeah, it's really expensive. I mean, you can live that's the thing, is also then you make choices that are, you're like, oh, okay, this is kind of a scuzzy apartment, but I'll do that, you know, but of course it's very expensive. And then I moved to Vancouver to continue doing acting and stuff. And I was an actor up until I think I was like 32, and then I wrote like a short, a one-person show kind of that involved this. But I'm like, basically what happened is after a while, you realize your roles, if you're not famous and a woman, or you're not getting a lot of roles, I should say, and you're already in your 30s, that's not going to get better. That's the reality.
That's a sad reality.
Mm-hmm. But it's a reality, right? And I wasn't getting a lot of roles, and when I was getting roles, or even the auditions, it was like, oh, that was my joke, is that most of the auditions I get would be for characters that didn't speak English.
Okay.
There was, for some reason, there's something about my look that people would say, like, oh, you look like you don't speak English. It's like, okay, but I do. You know, like, I don't really know how that works, and I can't debate what I look like, but I do speak English, so can I audition for speaking roles that are English? You know, that would help. And so at a certain point, I was getting like an audition a year, and then that's so much pressure, that one audition, you're like, oh my God, I hope I get this. Like, you know, even if it's the dumbest audition, you're like obsessive. And so after a while, I was like, this isn't the life I want to lead. And then cheers. So yeah, that was, I ended up, for a while, going into tech. Like working in technology, like in marketing technology, but that sort of when social media was very new. It was something I was very interested in, and so I quit acting for a long time. Not a long time, sorry, I shouldn't say that. For like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, and performance entirely, mostly to focus on that, in the hopes that I would forget that I wanted to be a performer. I was like, I would really like to not do this anymore because it's not productive. And it's frustrating, but then unfortunately it's kind of a bug, you know, you're like, oh, but I love doing it, you know, and when I'm not doing it, I feel dissatisfied. So a double-edged sword, but it's my own making, like nobody's forcing me to do it. But I love performing, and it's exciting and weird, and you have a lot of weird experiences, which is great. And you get to meet people a lot, I like that.
A lot of people like, but when you start the comedy, like, where do you start, or like, how do you start?
Okay, again, I did the best/worst thing. So at that point, I decided I wanted to start comedy. I was already in a weird place, and I wanted to go back to New York. And so I went back to New York. Again, put myself in debt, because that's what I do best. You know, when you have a gift for something, you have to do it. So I'm great at putting myself in debt. So I went to New York, and I started doing open mics in New York. And that was it's a really good challenge, because you're terrible doing an open
mic. Is that
mic.
Very brutal?
Yeah, brutal. Yeah, it's absolutely brutal. But it's also great. I love New Yorkers. I really love their personality, and it's exciting. And I met so many great people. It is hard because you're in an open mic, and you're with the person on stage is someone who's like not necessarily famous, but well known enough. Yeah. And you're like, oh my God, like they're going to see how bad I am, which is true. They did see how bad I am, because when you're starting out, you're usually bad. So that was like, that's what I did, is I did open mics in New York, and it was rough. It was rough on my head to be so bad, and you know, and to see people that were so good, and to see people I admired, and be like, oh my God, that's so far away.
Every open mic, you always have few guys well known, or the established, right?
In New York, depending on the mic, I mean, I try not to go to the really good ones, because I was like, this is just going to be
too stressful.
I mean, it was all stressful. I would put a lot of pressure, but the ones that were really big, I was like, this isn't going to be good for me, because I'm going to just face a room full of non-laughter, and then someone's going to get up and they have 20 years of experience, and I'm going to be like, that's really nice, and I can watch them and learn from them, but I'm also deeply depressed seeing how bad it was comparatively. But every mic that I went to, there'd be like really killer people, like people where you're like, you've been doing it for a long time, you do 3 or 4 mics a day, you're exceptional. So it's.
But is there any? But for the open mics, like the new people, right? Mm-hmm. I know the more like experienced people. Are they staying in the same room? They call green room. Why is it called green room? I always.
Oh, the green room. Yeah, like for open mics there isn't a green room, but for like except for the Comedy Nest, because they run some rooms. So like, they run professional shows. So they're going to have a green room. I don't know why. Someone was explaining this the other day, and I forgot. There's a reason. It used to be
For open mics, the people doing open mics, the new people, they don't stay in the green room.
No, but you don't
doing
have a green
corridor.
room. So. Yeah, but you don't even have a green room. Like when you're doing an open mic, you're usually just sitting in the audience or outside, people smoking. There's no like the great / terrible thing about open mic is there's no like comfort. There's no like luxury.
So you just sit next to audience.
Exactly.
Like, you did bad job, and then you're sitting the rest of the night with the.
Exactly. If you stick around, yeah. I mean, I've had times where it's like I've been waiting in the audience, and then I go and I do my even sometimes with smaller shows. You're in the audience, you're waiting if there's no clear room, and then you're talking to someone, you're making a friend. It's really nice. You go up, you do a terrible job, you get down, and then the person said, "That was so brave," and you're like, "Oh, thanks. But I'm gonna go kill myself outside." You know?
It's like you're so cute.
Exactly. I wish to pet you. You were an adorable toy. Yeah, I mean, I get where they're coming from. They don't know what to say. They're like, that was just terrible, but good for you for doing it.
Yeah. But how was your first time? Like, you still remember that?
So my first time was in Vancouver. I did one mic in Vancouver and decided not to do it for a while. Oh, two different. I had two different first times. Yeah. When I was 16, I did it at like a high school assembly.
Okay.
And that went great. It was great. I was very cheesy.
You're funny? Yeah.
I was funny, but I also probably was very hack. Like I wore suspenders, you know, like you can picture. Like I was a real nerd, but then I really played up how much of a nerd.
You don't have self-confidence.
No, it was
not self-confidence.
I had some self-confidence. Yeah. Like I had some self-confidence. I knew I was funny. I'll give myself that. I knew that I was funny, but for a long time, like. I had very bad experiences in school, and I did not speak up, and so I didn't feel comfortable. So I didn't really get good feedback that I was funny. But then I started a new school when I was like 16.
Yes.
High school. 14. When I was 14, I started a new high school, and then from 14 to 16, I was there, and that was a better experience. And I felt a little bit more confident. Like I had some friends, and people were a little bit more supportive, and people thought I was funny. And so I did an open mic. I did a little like set there. And that went great. And then I thought, but here's the thing, what you always hear about stand-up, and I know that you've heard this because you watch a lot of comedy, people say, well, if you're a comedian, you get up on stage and you want to get right back up again. And I didn't feel that. And so I was like, well, then I don't think that's for me because that's how I'm supposed to feel.
Okay.
And that's still kind of true. It's like,
I want to take a break. I want to rest a little bit.
Or like that was so much, I took so much out of me. Like I had so much anxiety that I don't want to do it right away again. I just want to maybe enjoy that it felt good or figure something out or take a nap, like any number of things. And so I thought, well, I guess I'm supposed to feel that way and I don't feel that way, so this isn't right for me, which is obviously why I thought maybe acting was. But then many years later, when I was like 38 or something like that, I decided I was doing a comedy podcast at the time, not the one I'm doing now, but this 4 versions ago. I had a comedy podcast, and I was talking to a lot of comedians. There was like a little middle section where I would call a comedian, interview them about part of the show. And the more I talked to comedians, the more I was like, one of them said, and his name is Matt Koff, he's like now a Daily Show writer, but what he said was he also didn't want to be a stand-up, but he knew it would help his writing. So that's why and then I was like, oh, okay, that's what I want. I wanted to do live shows that I would create, and I wanted to be a good host. So that's why I started doing stand-up, and I did it in Vancouver, and then I was like, I don't like how this one felt either, just because the one that I went to, and this is not indicative of Vancouver, and Vancouver's also gotten a lot better in terms of the comedy scene, but the one I went to, everyone was terrible. There wasn't a single there's one decent person out of 20 people that went up. And I'm like, well, this isn't going to make me that much better being around people where they're not good either. I need people, that's why New York.
You have a game you practice, everybody has good level. Otherwise, you're going to stay that low level.
Exactly. It's like at New York, I knew I'd be the worst. But there would be something to look up to. So if I could look up to people, I would be challenged. But if everybody was at my terrible level, then I wasn't going to do it. So then I didn't do it again for like a year and a half, and then I went to New York, and then I started doing it. So I'm sorry, these are very long answers to questions.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you have So for the New York open mic several times, like the first time in New York, also very terrifying.
Yeah, it was terrifying. I think that the first time, I couldn't remember the first one I did, but I think the second one, I was like, it took a while before I even did the second one. And one of my new friends there said, listen, We're going to go to a mic together. We're both going to do it. It's going to be okay. And it turned out she took me to a musical mic. It was mostly like 89% musicians. And then maybe a few comedians. So people would do these like beautiful pieces and I would get up and be like, well, let me talk about sex. And you're like, oh, this is so awkward.
But did your friend do? Or did your friend do?
Yeah, my friend was, so my friend was also a comedian. She was much
she did as well.
Yeah, and she's really cool.
It's not like something they promise us to together. Like
No.
you jump, I jump.
No,
then
no,
you jump,
no.
I don't jump.
No, exactly. Skydiving. And you're like, goodbye. No, she was great.
Right after you.
Exactly. Yeah, just wait. You know, when you land, I'll take the plunge, I promise. Yeah, so she did it as well, of course. But she was like a lot more comfortable at the time. She did it more consistently. She was like, had been doing it in New York for a long time. She was lovely.
You want to be a live host?
I do. I have my own show, so I host that one. It's like I have a few shows I host, but yeah, my show Pornomedy. Luckily, your daughter's not in this room. But that one, the one that you've heard as a podcast.
I heard several episodes.
Yes,
it's
so
like
I have that.
Rename 5. I don't know the numbers you put.
I know.
Number 5, then
150.
Yeah,
because I still like want to acknowledge that I've done 150 other episodes of other shows.
Yeah, one of them, I thought there's a guy's voice like. Looks like that guy was host. You were the guest.
Oh, interesting. He wasn't. He was my guest.
That's why it's confusing. The way you put it. The way you put it, I thought. Or he said it in the show, in the podcast. So like you were the guest, or like I'm pretty sure he's the.
That's so funny because I'm so egotistical about taking credit for things because I never I feel like I need to.
Because I'm pretty sure it's yours.
Yeah. Oh man, that's too bad. I was like, okay, we'll have to look at how that worked because
and also changing the numbers. I thought.
I know the numbers.
The numbers. I thought.
But I just feel so like
maybe rebranding or you join with another host. It's
the whole thing's very confusing because I've also done 4 different shows. This is the 4th different show.
Okay.
The first show I had with one co-host, and then I started, and then we dissipated, and then I had another co-host, and we did a different show together. That was maybe similar. I think it was pretty much the same structure because I came up with it. And then he left, and then then I did my own podcast for a while that was about Craigslist. So then this is the 4th different show I've done. And then I don't really know how to acknowledge that, and I don't want to lose the audience that sometimes would listen to the other shows. Yeah. So it's kind of a mess. But regardless, that's the live show. I've done a bunch of live shows that are Pornomedy.
Okay.
So, and I love that. And that's probably the thing that I do that I feel the most.
That's a good brand as well.
It's fun.
It's a great name.
Thank you. I love it.
Yeah, that's a first time selling. That's an amazing name.
Oh, so I really liked it when I came up with it. I felt very good about it. But it's funny because sometimes people have no idea. Like some people get it right away. They're like porn and comedy. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Some people don't get it right away at all. They're like, I don't understand. You're like, well, it's porn and comedy. They're like, Pornomedy? I'm like, no.
It's very genius, to be honest.
Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you. I want to hear that. I want to hear that.
And the live host, have you watched the Kill Tony?
I've heard of Kill Tony. I've only did quickly. It's intense, right?
It's not only intense. The host is like, what is that? Tony Hinchcliffe.
Okay.
And this guy is total genius.
Oh, really?
And this show is it's live on YouTube every Monday. I don't know. I don't have time. Mm-hmm. When I get home, maybe 10, but they start at 7, 8. Sometimes when I got home 9 or 10, I catch second half of the live streaming. Mm-hmm. Sometimes watch the thing after when it's all finished. It's every people. There's a draw. I feel you put your name in it, and then you draw everybody get draw, and you get 60 seconds and interrupted.
I know, it's amazing.
And also this guy, the Tony himself, I guess Hinchcliffe, he's so amazing. His reaction is so fast. It's everything live. He's making fun of the performers and ask questions. What's funny? What's interesting happening in your life? And what is you're good at? And you can tell. I never seen any guy that kind of funny in real time.
Wow.
Sometimes you write jokes, right?
Yeah, it's edited.
Exactly. This guy is everything live. Everything is he always makes people laugh. And also the co-host is another guy doing. It's called the Red Band, the Brian Red Band.
I know who he is. Yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah. He was originally with Joe Rogan.
That's why. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
That guy does not talk too much. He just doing the meow that remind you 60 seconds already, and then the bear roar like that, doing the special sound effect. But the Tony Hinchcliffe, I saw some clip. This you have to watch it. This guy is
I will.
It's amazing.
I feel stressed for but I feel stressed for the performers. Like I can't watch things like America's Got Talent because I have such a visceral empathy for the performers. I'm like, oh, please do well. It's so hard. I don't want you to be bad.
But I think the Kill Tony, the pressure is on Tony.
You think so?
Yeah, because every time he has. Every night, I guess there's only about 10. The time about 10 for the 60-second thing. So 10. But majority of the time is Tony interacting with the performer, and they always have a famous guest. It's the famous comedians always have a guest. Every week they have a guest. Joe Rogan as well several times. Another famous, some people Tom Segura, some people. But majority of the talking is from Tony. Interaction with you have to, the live audience, people sitting there. So you have to make very, very from beginning to the end, always laughing. And this guy doing all the talking.
Wow.
He's roasting here or there, and there's another dude like the big guy. What is that, David? That guy is genius. This guy, David. What is the name? It's made his name already. Very famous now. Okay. Every time he came on, it's a regular now. The David, what is the last name? And Tony, and they roast each other live every week.
Well, they know each other, so it's kind of cute.
But every time it's different.
Okay.
Every time, those two classics. Every time they spend 3 to 5 minutes roasting each other, and then make fun of them. The black dude, the big guy, was like laughing, like he make himself. I guess he has the effect of laughing himself.
Okay.
They make the weird laughs, and make it like they roast each other on live. It's amazing. The problem is every week they have new things to
roast each other. But well, I guess they must like spend enough time with each other where they're like, all right, well, remember how you did this thing this weekend? I mean, I imagine. Do they spend a lot of time together outside of the show?
I'm not sure, but even though it's crazy, it's really. And another guy is a Korean guy. He called Kim Hans. Okay. He's a big shot now. He's big, and Kim Hans, like he was living in a trailer a year ago, and then he was found by Kill Tony, and his regular.
My God.
Every week, every week before the performers came on stage by the joint. So every week he does 60 seconds himself. So every week
is great?
He's pretty good. Okay. And he went to O2 with Joe Rogan. Went to O2 with he's crazy, and he 60 seconds every time, and then he spent 5 minutes talking with Tony. Yeah. And every time Tony is the best. Oh my Never gosh. See, but their show is not. I don't think it's huge like that. Like on the YouTube, they have if there's not big star like Joe Rogan on, and regularly it's like 200 or 300K views.
Oh, not that much. So you'd think it'd be millions.
Yeah, millions. I thought it would be millions, but they've been doing that for a few years already. Yeah. But it's live every Monday. That's amazing. It's 400, 300K, but still I think it should be much more than that.
Did they come to like Montreal recently? Because I overheard some comedians here talking about being on it. So I don't know if they came here or they
always in Austin. They're always in Austin.
In Austin, okay, so they must have traveled to Austin to do that. Okay.
Every people they travel. There's a lot of people in their big bucket. The bucket they draw the names. Some of them the second time, third time, it's on the same show.
Yeah.
There's a lot. The guys kind of. Some people it's a talent. They're so quick to do things like.
Yeah, they think very fast. So everybody's different, but sometimes people think very fast and
this Tony guy. But I'm pretty sure if the Tony himself, if you let him prepare a kind of show, probably he's not that top. Huh. But on the live, it's I guess probably the top.
Huge, right? That's a huge skill. Sometimes you see that, like I'm sure when you watch comedy, you notice like some people are just so good at interacting with the audience, and that's their gift. Like even they can do other stuff.
The Montreal, there's Sugar Sammy, right?
Yeah,
he's
Sugar
good
Sammy's
with
the audience.
Audience. I saw a couple of that, several of that. He's pretty quick.
And then like in New York, there's like Judah Friedlander, who's like that, and Aaron Berg, and a few other people that I've seen who have been doing mostly crowd work. Their act is mostly crowd work, but it's great.
Yeah.
Like they're just so. I mean, they've done stand up. Obviously, they're like they're skilled at that. But when you see them just being able to talk to people and like the things they can make, the jokes they can make on the fly, that clearly they're not the same jokes they always make. Like, you know, it's dependent on the person. It's exceptional.
Yeah, if you spend time writing and then perform, that's a different skill set.
Absolutely. And like you should have a mix of both, obviously. Everybody wants that mix of like, I can do both, you know, I can work with the audience, but then I can also do, but, you know, sometimes you're, you know, I'm definitely better at the written stuff and working on being better at
recently I discovered another guy. He's really genius. He's a special. He made a special, has I guess 11, 12 million views already.
Well, who is he? Do you remember?
It's Andrew Schultz.
Yeah, I've had him on an old podcast of mine.
Seriously?
He's great. Yeah, he's great.
This guy
he's killer.
I guess is the new generation. He's the top of the new generation.
Jesus. Yeah, he became very famous.
Have you seen the latest special on
I've
YouTube?
Heard he's great. He's always
free.
great.
It's totally free on YouTube.
Okay.
He put everything free on YouTube.
Okay.
Has 11 or 12 million views within
is it
like
great?
a month. It's hilarious. It's like one of the best. It's like 60 minutes nonstop.
Yeah.
It's
really admirable.
This guy is crazy.
Yeah, that's so great. Yeah, he's a nice enough guy too.
Yeah. Because young people, you don't see so many like old generation like Dave Chappelle is kind of been a lot of years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock.
But like Andrew Schultz, I believe has been doing it for a very long time. I don't think he's that young even. I think he's probably like, I would guess mid to late 30s. Yeah, exactly. The late 30s, early 40s is my guess. Yeah, I don't know.
I just heard of him recently.
Oh no, but then he's still probably been doing it for like 20 something years, but that's still like he's still a newer generation. You're right.
He has a YouTube channel called Flagrant.
Okay.
Flagrant 2 or Flagrant. It's pretty good. They have 2 or 3 guys always like having guests like talking crazy.
Yeah, of course. Talking crazy. That's the brand always. Guys talking crazy. It's like, but that's awesome. I can see how he'd be hilarious.
People like
nice guy.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's a lot of time especially in the United States, the comedy have to be crazy. If not so many doing the kind of wisdom or some kind of that make you kind of doing the
think. You like people that make you think is what.
Yeah.
I mean. Yeah, I think that's less accessible. People who are a little bit more, but I still think those people can be very smart. The ones doing crazy comedy, sometimes they're very smart. It's just that the way they're behaving is very animated, or they're like, you know. But I still think they can be extremely smart. But yeah.
Yeah, I watch a lot of those stuff.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Do you think it does help your English? Because your English is exceptional, but do you think that that's really helped?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Seriously, that's amazing because like also I listen to a lot of podcasts as well. So to establish the different scenarios, what you say, what the information they give you.
Like what do you mean? Like
podcast.
Like when you listen to a podcast, like is the conversation?
Conversation always come. I guess the conversation is a lot better than the movies to learn English because you always have some sets, you know.
Yeah.
You have, like for example, you kind of talking to each other about one thing, you know. Oh, what they say about what would they say about this kind of stuff scenario?
Interesting.
You know? So it's gonna help you. For me, it's my understanding. It helped me to establish language patterns.
Oh.
A lot of those patterns, like. Next time, like when I'm in the similar situation, out of nowhere, it's probably I'm gonna aware people saying that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Or I probably respond with that kind of stuff.
Oh, so, interesting. Yeah, so then, like, what kind of podcasts do you listen to that like help you do that? There's
I'm an engineer. I work computer.
Yeah, right. Computer engineer, but that's right. I didn't think about the engineer part.
So I always listen to like. It's a little bit boring. It's Lex Friedman.
Oh, I don't know him, but that's okay. Why?
He's a MIT professor. His number one, I guess, podcast already in the science, whatever. And another is Joe Rogan. Is the king of the whole world.
Yeah.
So he has a lot of crazy. It's a lot of crazy talks, but covers a lot of topics.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. So it's different. A lot of everywhere, scientists, everything.
Interesting. Okay.
And another crazy guy is Tim Dillon.
Yeah, I've heard of him. What is he doing?
It's a monologue. But sometimes it's boring. But he's very good at the monologue.
Okay.
So his his podcast is only himself ranting
Okay.
about reality or
Okay.
like jokes here or there.
Interesting. Oh, those are really interesting podcasts.
Yeah. And some other things, if they talk to some famous people, I found, because I'm a big fan of Elon Musk, because
Okay.
IT, if you're working the technology, you very difficult to find reason to not admire what he achieved.
Okay, that's probably true. Yes,
Yeah.
we all have our own issues with him right now.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
like,
exactly.
but that I also have my own issues with Joe Rogan, but admired him for a very long
Yeah,
time. You know,
yeah,
but it's
exactly.
like I also
So
get that.
like for engineer, like seeing this guy doing with rockets, everything, rockets,
Mhm.
electric cars.
Okay.
Then like I watch a lot of his interviews. The crazy guy
Yeah.
talking a lot of interest. It's like very real person or something.
Yeah.
So then I found out Joe Rogan.
Oh, okay,
Because
from
he did,
there.
yeah, because it's one lead to another, you know. It's
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
I know that's like the podcast, the rabbit hole, right?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
you listen to one thing and you're like, oh, you found this person on that podcast. They have their own
Yeah,
podcast. And you
yeah,
go to that
exactly.
podcast,
Yeah,
and you're
exactly.
like, now I've got another podcast.
Especially
I love
when you
that.
look at the number, they have millions subscribers. So you say, oh, they must be good.
I mean, that's true, which is like
Yeah.
what's kind of heartbreaking because you're like, okay, but if it's harder to try a new podcast because you're like, you assume when it's a newer podcast, they don't have that many millions of people, they must not be very good, but they just might not be like have a connection or as
Yeah,
lucky.
first, yeah.
But sometimes I'm the same way too. I'm like, what does everybody else like about this person? You're like, well, there's a good reason.
Yeah.
It's,
So like the
this
first,
person's great.
first podcast is the interview, like Elon Musk and Joe Rogan.
Okay.
That interview on the YouTube got 50 million, 60 million views already. It's very long, but you get a lot of information from that.
Mhm.
Because before I only knew Elon Musk about he or their like electric cars, Tesla. I did not know Tesla very well before that.
Yes.
But then like after the first interview, like then the second, third, and then this guy is crazy. The create like the self-landing rockets.
Yeah.
That's like genius. So it's like especially during the pandemic, I'm like every day I'm working in the restaurant. So when I cut vegetables, washing dishes, I always have my wireless earphones. So that kills a lot of time.
It's so helpful,
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
you know, I find that like when I have to do something that's like domestic,
Yeah.
I hate domestic stuff, and I have to do something like that. I'm like, well, it makes it a lot easier if you're listening to a podcast and you're just like, I'm just doing, and then I feel productive too because you're like, I'm getting information.
Exactly.
It's not
Yeah.
wasted time.
That's why it's an advantage of this the podcast like in Canada and the United States as well. Like you have podcasts in English, the first language English. For the people is extra for me. I'm not interested to. Sometimes I'm not even listen to the content.
Okay.
Or the content is really I'm agreeing or like, but on top of that I'm learning English.
That's
So-
huge. Those are
Exactly.
huge
So
things.
that's why they're so
Wow.
popular. Like
Okay.
some podcasts, like some news channels, some
Yeah.
stuff in Canada and United States, they have the big advantage of like this. The people from Brazil, from Turkey, from China, not China, they don't listen to this, but from like they're not first language
Yeah.
English. So for me, it's like one stone, two kids,
That's
two
amazing.
birds.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
it's,
absolutely.
it's amazing.
Yeah, no, I
So
think that's
on top of that, I'm washing dishes,
Yeah.
finishing the job, making money.
yeah, exactly. You're like, I'm doing everything.
Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly.
you're like super multitasking.
Yeah,
I've got
exactly.
5 things I'm covering. Now I'm like really productive.
Yeah,
it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's
That's a good lesson for me because I'm trying to get better at French. Because I'm not terrible. I'm just not. I'm uncomfortable and whatever. And I've tried to watch more films in French with subtitles, especially. And it's it's always helpful. And I love I'm very interested in another. Obviously, it's great to watch films in any language. I like watching films in languages I don't speak. But that seems like your point is that makes much more sense to probably listen to conversational.
yeah, exactly.
So so my friends have recommended some French podcasts. I have to listen to French podcasts
Yeah, exactly.
now. Okay.
And
Fair enough.
also for me, I'm moved here 17 years ago. Like I want to know more about Canada and United States.
Okay.
Like how the system is organized, how people interact with each other, right?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
So if you get more knowledge about how things doing, how do they do things, probably get more knowledge about the society you're living in.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I always find that, especially, there's lots of things I don't know about my own country, so I'll say that right away. Like, there's lots of stuff that I learned that I'm like, is this how this works? Because there's all sorts of systems I haven't been a part of, right? Like, I've lived my whole life, like, worked, I've been a performer, but I've also worked like jobs in marketing and whatever, but different types of jobs. And so I think that sometimes I'll listen to something, I'm like, oh, that's how this feels, academia, right? Know nothing about academia and how it is to be a person in that. Then you listen to something, you're like, ooh, that seems like a difficult world. And so that's exciting. But I had a point that I was going to make, and I think it's eluded me. Yes, but what I find kind of interesting too is the differences, obviously, between the Canadian systems and the U.S. systems.
Very different.
Very different.
Even I know kind of good amount of those kind of systems already.
Yeah, of course, but so I listened to a podcast called Maintenance Phase, and it's excellent. And it largely talks about wellness culture and diet culture and how destructive these systems are. And it's very illuminating. Obviously I have some experience with it in the sense of I'm a woman and I face certain ideas of how women should look and they have to fit into. But in a large way, I don't have the same experiences because there's two hosts. They're both very knowledgeable and very good at researching, and they're funny as hell. So everything they say, you get an education, but it's also easy to listen to and learn. And one of the hosts is Aubrey Gordon, and she's a fat woman, and she talks about the experience of living as a fat woman in society, which I have never had the experiences she talks about, where people yell things at her on the street. It's horrible things, or monitor what she's eating when she's in a line and she's ordering something. They're like, you could make a better choice. It's like a stranger.
Really?
Yeah, I never thought anyone would do that. Like, I've never seen anyone do that. So like, that's very eye-opening. But also, one of the things they were recently talking about was workplace wellness. And this is a completely different system than there is here, because while they have workplace wellness programs, like different ones, do you know what I'm talking about when I say that?
Sure.
Okay, so because I feel like that's a very corporate thing. Sometimes we don't. I've only seen it in some when I've worked corporate jobs, which hasn't been most of my life.
The last job I have in the big company for 12 years last year.
Okay, so it's corporate. Yeah, I worked as a legal assistant in the corporate world for a bit, but not for very long because it's the corporate world, and I don't really work very well there. Like, oh no, this is a nightmare. But one of the things they were talking about was workplace wellness, and why, and the difference there is. Well, our healthcare system is totally broken here, but their system is so tied into you getting benefits from your employer because the government has abdicated their responsibility of helping that system work, the healthcare system. So then you're really tied to these this terrible contract with your employer of one, having to continue working somewhere that you may not be happy with because you can't afford to live. And have your healthcare or your family's healthcare taken care of.
But you are the foreign worker in the United States. How do you cover your health?
I just didn't get sick. I got lucky. Oh yeah,
So you did not have health insurance?
Well, I had like travel health insurance because if you're not, I never was an immigrant there. I was always there as a student, or when I was there for the last 6 months when I went there, I was just like, a traveler. So I had travel insurance. So I had health insurance through Canada, but I also, I was very lucky, so nothing happened. And I had this stupidity of being in my 20s and believing nothing was going to happen to me.
Invincible.
Exactly. But the times that something did happen, I just avoided it. Like, I got hit by a car and I just went, all right, well, that happened. And I didn't go to get healthcare or anything. And I just got lucky that it wasn't a very serious accident. But you're like, well, that's stupid. You make stupid decisions because you don't want to get a bill that's sky high. And I have just been lucky, very lucky about that. But anyway, it was very interesting to hear they're talking about workplace wellness and these terrible programs that people feel like, oh, I gotta do this because I need an extra $100 and they're subsidizing my healthcare in this way. So if I do this, I get this discount. There's lots of complicated. It's a great episode. I would recommend anyone listen to it. But it was very fascinating to learn of a system that I am not a part of in any way. Right? I always forget how many bad things come into play with how bad their healthcare system is. And again, I'm not a big fan of what we're doing here anymore because I think it's been mismanaged. But it's not. It's definitely not as bad. And that's my rant about healthcare.
But Canada healthcare system is relatively, people like more than the United States.
Yeah, but only because you don't have to pay, you're not going to go so far into debt. But we used to have a better healthcare system. Like when I was growing up, it was...
Really?
Oh, yeah, we had such a better healthcare system.
I thought things are getting better.
No, they're getting... okay, so again, I'm very opinionated. Maybe I'm wrong. my experience talking to people, reading, whatever I have, the assessment that I have made is that it's getting worse, and because there used to be less emergency room waiting times.
Okay.
This is like whatever, but my father, when he was ill, they just put him on waiting lists forever until it got so bad there was nothing they could do.
I heard of that.
Yeah,
like something is not immediate danger, so they just postpone.
Postpone, but that's the thing. And
yeah,
then if
they make it a big problem.
Well, that's it. And if you're something like obviously my dad's case where he had cancer and they misdiagnosed for a long time, when they finally diagnosed it was too late.
Too late, yeah.
So it's like, that's still not a good system. You know, if you're put on a waiting list for so long that the cancer can metastasize, it's broken.
Yeah.
And that's not only been my experience, it's been
I heard that too, yeah, a lot of people have that.
So, you know, and things like that, you're like, this is severely broken. And now there's emergency waiting room times that like are 26 hours or something, you know, and that's not workable. And people will avoid going to hospitals, obviously, but when they're very ill, because there's not going to be anything they can do. It's weird.
The waiting time in the United States relatively better?
Because you're paying for it, yeah.
But if you don't have money?
If you don't have money, no, then you're dead. That's the thing. You only have two choices, unless you're very wealthy, as far as I've noticed in the States. And obviously, I don't live there, but my experience of reading and hearing and having friends that have gone into severe debt because they got ill, yeah, you just... if you're not rich and you don't have extremely good healthcare coverage, then you will spend the rest of your life, if you ever get sick, paying off that debt. Your whole life is going to be paying off that debt. And that's the best you could hope for, because at least you didn't die. So, I mean, to me, that is the worst possible healthcare system, one of the worst possible healthcare systems in a developed country that you could imagine. But it is what it is there. But yeah, it's always surprising. It's such a great country in so many ways. And I loved it, and I really wanted to move there. But now that, you know, that didn't happen, I'm actually sometimes grateful, because I'm like, what would I have done? What would I have done if anything went wrong there?
A lot of people, if something went wrong, they move to Canada.
And that's probably, yeah, because I know, I don't know if you saw this, but a lot of times people who had moved to the States during the pandemic moved back. And you're like, oh, I see, because it's like, well, then I'm not going to pay these exorbitant prices and terrible health care and risk dying. I will move back. And it's funny, because it's like, as a performer, there are more opportunities. It's not easy by any means to be a performer. People don't get famous like most of the time. Yeah. But there are more opportunities. People move there to be able to get a decent wage if they're a performer. But then you're like, well, then you're fucked with the healthcare. So, and a number of other things. Thank you.
Is that, but you, in the last few years, your main income is from comedy, right?
I wish. That's cute. Thank you. No, not at all. Not at all. I don't earn almost anything from comedy. Like, it's a very small fraction. So I work in marketing.
But still.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm very fortunate to have a good job where my boss is exceptionally kind to me and understands that I have,
topic.
Exactly. Some other interest.
We've
known each other for a long time, and
that's amazing.
It is amazing, and so he understands that it's like, while I will work very hard and I will always do the job well. You know, that's I'm very much a perfectionist. I also need to be at a gig at a certain time. So, you know, between this time and this time, maybe I won't be available because I'll be at a gig.
Last time it was the UAE, right? The last time was in the Emirates, what is that country, the rich?
United Emirates.
Yeah, Emirates, UAE.
I've never been there. What do you mean? Sorry.
Oh, I thought you made a gig on your...
Oh, no. I don't think I'd ever go to United Arab Emirates. I think I'd immediately be killed there. They hear my podcast and I immediately get thrown in jail. I can't imagine being there.
A month ago, you have a lot of posts about doing shows in other countries.
No. I mean, I went to Toronto a month ago, in the beginning of this month. I think you're for a moment you're confusing me with someone else. I'm sure you know. My very.
I'll show you afterwards.
Okay, you show me. Okay, no, I've never performed in the United Emirates. So no, I'm quite fortunate to have a good job and have someone who understands that, and again, sometimes it's stressful. It's it can be a frustrating job, but
so doing comedy is not easy to support.
No. And
especially
also,
in Montreal.
Especially in Montreal in English, but in general in Canada. But also, I mean, again, I'm not 20, and it gets very tiring being stressed about money all the time. Like that's a thing I did
That's
for
true though.
a big
Even
part.
myself,
Yeah.
myself have the same. That's why I work every day. I just make sure the business is okay. You know, just make sure it's not dying.
Yeah, of course. And there's a certain stress of that when it's not. I mean, obviously you're more stressed than I am about this, but you know, with me, I'm a contractor. And so, you know, in a large part, if I didn't work, I would not earn money, right? There's not a lot of benefit. There's not any benefits. My boss is just good to me. So, you know, but you work because that's the way that life is a little easier. Otherwise, if I didn't, I can't imagine. I mean, again, I've been a performer my whole life and not been able to make a living at it, which is not a thing that's fun to say, but it's real, and I think that's the reality for a lot of people. It doesn't really matter if you work hard or whatever. Not everybody is able to support themselves off performing. So I'm lucky to have something where I don't have to be constantly stressed about money. You know, I can feed myself. I can have a warm home. You know, those things were, you know, when I was working jobs. Sure. When I've been working other jobs that didn't, you know, that paid minimum wage or whatever, it was extremely hard to have like a warm home and good food and not constantly be on the edge. And I enjoy not being on the edge all the time. I don't think that, I know that it informs your comedy in some way to be constantly stressed about that, but not enough to make that. Yeah. So yeah,
But the marketing job, like you can do remote.
I've always been remote. That's
amazing.
Yeah, it was. I worked remotely for the past 14 years in different fields, like in mostly marketing, but from different companies or as a contractor. So
you must be very good that you have a lot of experience already.
Thank you. I'm versatile. I'd say this much. Like I love learning, so if there's something that I'm doing and I don't know how to do it, I'm excited to learn how to do it, and that's always been the case. Like with my podcast,
everything works come together because you have acting, and then you have comedy, personality, and then perfect for marketing.
Thank you. It does work. And then because I got into social media, because when it was very new, I learned about YouTube. When YouTube was not a thing that people knew about. I was like, oh, there's a place where I can make a film and put it out there and people I don't know could see it. And that's how I when into that. And then I was very excited by social media in general. And so knowing about that, right now it's like everybody knows what social media is. But when I first started social media marketing, it was so new. And people I would talk at conferences and stuff, and people would, you know, I was an expert in a way in this industry because I was an early adopter. So that was very cool.
And also I saw you post with some food places. What is that the post about? And also even some comments.
Oh, I think I just like screenshot when I screenshot restaurants.
Restaurant.
I love that. Well, just because I love food and we're always looking for places to go to. My boyfriend and I don't like cooking, and we like having experiences outside. So we're like, oh, what can we experiment with? What's really great? Obviously, we've come here a number of times because we love you guys. But whenever I look through things, I'm very interested in the negative things that people say, because sometimes
some comments, mean comments or crazy comments.
Yeah, sometimes sometimes it's really relevant. Like there's a place and this place is shut down, and I have no problem with that having happened. But the woman was really racist, so all the comments were about how racist she was. Like, well, I bet she really is racist. Like, that's not one person's experience, where they could have come up with it. That's everyone's experience, so that's terrible. But sometimes it's just going to be one person's terrible day or weird ideas and expectations of what an experience should be. Like, sometimes you realize somebody's lived an extremely privileged life but doesn't know they lived a privileged life. Like, the coffee wasn't hand poured, and I didn't I've had a better experience doing this and this, and when I travel to whatever, and you're like, my God, you must be terrible company. What's your day like if you have no pleasure in a restaurant experience? So I love those comments, because sometimes it's just out of control, and what they're picky about is nuts. And
And you do the screenshots.
What's that?
And you do the screenshot and share.
Yes, exactly. I love those. Sometimes it's just it's wonderfully weird. And the same thing with like Amazon reviews. Sometimes you see a review and you're like,
Amazon reviews.
What are they talking about? Like, it says, like, I saw one and it was just so sexist, but he clearly didn't know he was being sexist, and that's what makes it really weird. Do you know the restaurant? There's a place called New Systems. It's on. They have a few, I think. they make very good pizzas, and I think apparently make good rotisserie chicken. So there's one on St. Henry. All the waitresses have been working there for 40, 50 years. Okay, like all the waitresses. The average median age of the waitress is about 70 to 80 years old. Okay,
that must worth something. It's like
and they must like it, and they are perfectly enjoyable. But the owner is like this. The owner comes across. He responds to every review, but not always well.
Okay.
So there was one review, like he gets mad, right? And I understand it's your own business, and you would feel, listen, I feel personally attacked when it's all
I do
the
that
time.
sometimes too.
Right? And I think it's important to respond as a marketer. I'm like, oh, you should respond to all the reviews, but you also have to take a deep breath because you can come across, not you specifically, anyone can come across so defensively.
Have to be really careful.
Very careful because it's so reflective of how you respond.
Defensive.
Exactly. And if you come across as defensive, people are like, well, then that's not they're probably right. That you can same thing with Airbnb reviews, but this one with new systems was somebody had written, the waitresses are really rude, and you call up and they yell at you in French, and you can't whatever. Okay, fine, that was their experience. I don't have that experience, but fine. And the owner started off pretty well. He was like, hey, listen, everyone has a bad day now and then. I was like, well, good for you, it's true.
Yeah.
But then he went, they're probably also going through menopause. And I was like, oh no, you went off track. So
that's pretty bad.
It was really bad and so sad. His responses are something else. But the restaurant is enjoyable, and I don't know what to say. Like, I like the waitresses. It's a very Quebec experience. And I highly recommend if people come from out of town to go to somewhere like New System where it is absolutely pure French. It is the most French experience. Like when in the cold, people would come in from the cold and they would be like, courage! You're like, oh, this is so Quebec, and I love it. It's very joyous.
Yeah. But the Google reviews is sometimes interesting. I really, not really, several times I replied. Only the bad reviews I reply.
Okay.
I feel like I have to explain,
yes,
But
you're right.
Yeah. So I only, sometimes I feel really bad, to be honest, really, really bad. This is totally misunderstanding or something not very true.
Okay.
So I have to explain, but I have to be honest, but I have to be very careful.
Very careful.
Not saying that word, that
like, yeah, exactly. Not using menopause. You would never do that, but not.
Have to be careful to recognize what they're saying, probably 100% true, because, even you don't think it's true.
From their perspective, it's
probably,
true.
Yeah, from their perspective, probably true.
Yeah.
It's you never happen. You cannot guarantee, okay, I never do this, but you cannot guarantee the staff on that time, never did anything,
You can't guarantee that, like, they
exactly.
weren't, like, abrupt because something else happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I always assume what they're saying is wrong. I always start with apology. So that's my experience with the reviews. I do, like, reply to the bad reviews, really, especially the long ones.
Yeah.
Really long one. So if they spend time to write this long, the critics has to be true, so
they feel passionate about it for whatever reason.
Exactly. So that's what I reply most.
Good.
People give us 5-star reviews. I never reply.
You
don't say thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's cute if you do, but also it's not necessary. They're going to come back anyway.
Yeah.
And they're going to.
Yeah. Also, like, you feel like I saw some maybe other owners, they may like, oh, thank you very much or something. I don't feel like I need to do that.
I don't think you do have to do that. I know sometimes it also feels a bit performative to say, like, oh, okay, I acknowledge that you think I'm great. Thank you. And I know I feel like I would feel a little uncomfortable. But, like, okay, so I have a question for you. I feel like whenever I order the 3-cup chicken and the diced chicken, they always so good, spicy diced chicken. They're both so great. Whenever I order it, they're like, it comes with bones, and they always warn me. So that must come from somewhere. Why do you have to warn people about it? Or, like, people?
It happens a lot.
People get very uncomfortable. It has bones.
Some
in it?
people, 2 times. Some of them even not very nice. Like, they order the food cooked. That's eating inside.
Yeah.
We brought the food, and the 2 times I had 2 times experience. The one time the guy just said, "Oh, you never mentioned it's deep fried." And I don't eat deep fried food.
Oh, for the love of God, you should ask if you don't eat deep fried food.
It's like a KFC.
Yeah.
So literally the chicken from KFC deep fried as well.
Yes, and like, you also have to ask, if you don't eat deep fried, that's on you as a person, a consumer, to be like, hey, listen, how does this prepare?
Yeah, we explain, we try the best. But in the picture also, like, it looks like very dry. Also, like, sometimes we did mention, sometimes we may forgot to mention is deep fried, but
Okay.
we always mention there's bones.
Yeah.
Because bones, like with from our experience with the
North Americans.
people here, some people they just hate meat with bones.
That is definitely like something I learned just because
Like,
you guys always ask. I was like, oh, they must.
Like 50%, like 50% of population.
That's huge.
Yeah. I feel like half of the people they don't eat.
That's so weird. Okay, I guess I'm like
It's a little messy. It's a little bit messy.
It's messy, sure, but I mean, I feel okay. Maybe this is an experience as like someone who's like from like my family's Eastern European. It's like, well, your food comes with bones. That's what a chicken's like.
Yeah.
If you chopped up a chicken, it's gonna have bones in it. Yeah. But yeah, that's how I thought. Like, okay, I guess because you guys didn't come up with it out of nowhere. You're not double checking with me each time because you liked saying bones. Like someone must have 50%.
Yeah, if some customers they order this food like we call bones or greasy, if they order with very assertive, so I would assume this customer came before knew the food, so we don't ask.
Okay.
But it's not.
I don't mind being asked.
People very assertive thing. I want this and I want this. Yeah, on that you have. Sometimes I would ask one more time, saying, "You been here before?" They say, "Yes." Yeah, okay. I don't say no more.
we don't ever mind. Like whenever we've been asked, we're like, absolutely, we know there's bones, and thank you. That's good to know. But I definitely knew there was a story behind it. It's like when there's like a bunch of books about this, and it's really fun. But like the ones where they're like talk about why there are disclaimers on products. Like so a hairdryer, they have like a
fine print,
but also just like warnings. And sometimes the warnings, if you read them, are nuts. Like their hairdryers, one of them is do not use while sleeping. You're like, wow, that happened. So that's what I was thinking with the bones. I was like,
maybe as a warmer. Actually, people use that as a warmer.
Or sometimes people are tired. Like like I would never, as a non-smoker, I never understand exactly like how do you fall asleep smoking. But if you're a smoker, you're tired and you're smoking, you fall asleep smoking, and there's disasters. But
talk about smoking. How do you think of the marijuana?
I'm very much in support.
You smoke too.
I only started last year. At
Seriously?
47, yes.
Is that a good choice?
Yes.
Seriously?
I'll tell you why. I don't do it before performances, and I don't do it consistently. I do it, but I do it occasionally.
You had it several times already?
Yeah, so I don't smoke because I don't like smoking, but I've had like gummies and stuff. And this is only been since the past 8-9 months.
That's amazing. I'm thinking about that too. You gave me the inspiration.
See? I mean, again, I don't think that I always think that this is bad influence, right? Oh my God. And then your family comes after me. They're like, he's stoned all the time. For me, it's because I have a lot of anxiety, and the more
that calms you down.
What's that?
That calms me
down a bit. Now I'm still experimenting, and it's not always successful. And one time, my boss is very liberal, so it wasn't a problem. But the other day, last week, so I had bought like a different various gummies, and I was like trying them out, and I was like, okay, I'm like, is this legal? I'm like, now this is on camera.
It's totally in Canada.
Yes, we're in Canada. Okay, so I'm experimenting because I'm like, what can make me feel take a little bit of the edge off during my workday, but still allow me to focus, and that's the hard part, is that balance.
Yeah, exactly.
So I tried this one thing. It was like a very small amount of CBD and THC, so it's supposed to give you.
So CBD is the calm one.
The calm one. I just learned this too. THC is the one that gives you like a little bit of energy. Yeah.
I know that too, but I'm not good at names. But I know there's two opposite
ones. Yeah, and then sometimes the people were recommending is that you combine like a bit of each, because then you get the relaxation, but you're awake, right?
Okay.
Which still feels extremely weird, because it feels like two things are on opposite polars. Like I'm very susceptible.
It's like we're cooking with more vinegar and add more sugar, then more vinegar.
Exactly, and that's a part of it. Or like if you've ever tried like any sort of like sleep medication or anything, I've tried different like insomnia medications, and it's like sometimes you really feel the medication in your body.
Okay.
So I didn't love that. Again, I'm so new at this. Anyway, I had just tried this. I exercised and whatever, and then I had a call with my boss, and then he was saying something, and I was like, okay, well we can do this and this, and then he goes, Monica, have you had a lot of caffeine? I was like, oh no. I was like, no, I haven't had a lot of caffeine.
The other one, not CBD, the other
THC?
THC.
That's like, you haven't tried it yet, or you're saying,
no.
Yeah, okay.
If I would ever try, I'd probably start with CBD.
Well, and that's what I started
is a little bit
with.
more scary.
Yeah, and that's what I started with too. I just realized, okay, that's great, but also then I'm tired. And so yeah, I'm still experimenting, but I did think I was like, oh no. So I actually had
as a potential customer, consumer, like as a potential one.
Yeah.
But is that like how about the price? It's like a one, like when you kind of have one time cost $5, $4,
even less depending on how, like, because I'm such a lightweight.
Okay.
So it's maybe not that much each time. I would say like, my math's not great either. Right now I'm thinking how much it would be. So like something was like, yeah, maybe it would be $1 a day.
That's not bad.
It's not bad. Like $1, $2
I guess
a day.
they're hiking the cigarettes price also right now. I guess it's comparable maybe.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. What I've been reading, obviously, is that people who are higher consumers, if they have chronic pain, for instance, I don't have chronic pain. If you have chronic pain, you need a higher dosage.
Yeah, for the CBD.
So CBD or THC, I can't remember which, but like again, you need a higher dose.
Soothing must be CBD, I guess.
So and then sometimes, so then that would be like, let's say 20 or 30 milligrams or even higher. Whereas I'm right now trying to take like maybe a few milligrams a day. So obviously, the more need you have, the more expensive it's going to be. I don't want to say it's an economical thing. It maybe is okay economical for me. But I'm also experimenting. That's costing a bit where I'm like, wait, this doesn't work. And now I have a bottle of this thing. I don't know.
In our Chinese culture, it's like it's a taboo, I guess.
Yeah.
It's still, people,
I see that.
it's like I guess still there, they treat it as a hard drugs.
Yeah.
It's still in that way.
I mean, they still treat it that way in the U.S., so I'm not surprised.
Some states, they're pretty lenient.
Some states, but not all the states. Some states, it's completely illegal, right? Like, and I mean, it was like,
That's interesting.
That's a weird one, but
I thought you growing up there here. A lot of people they had when they were very young, they kind of teenagers. They tried.
I have very strict parents, right? Very conservative.
That helped.
I mean, it helped and hindered, right? But also, I've always been very focused on being in control. Okay. That's very important to me, to have like autonomy over myself and autonomy over like my situations and stuff. So I drank, I take drinks occasionally, but I also was very conservative about when I drank. So for me, that was with drugs, where I was like, I don't want to get addicted. I also never wanted to feel like I could only perform if I took something. I wanted to feel like under the worst circumstances, I could still try.
So they're not very crazy.
I'm crazy in some
ways.
Very,
very reasonable.
In some ways. Well, thank you. You know what? I'm going to use that. I'm going to have you like sign a contract to say that you attest that I am very reasonable. Because that would be very nice. It's like, that's nice to hear.
Some people, you can tell, like, you always think about, you have your self-control. That's kind of, already there, kind of logical. I'm
very practical, honestly. I'm pretty practical. Yeah. But again, that's not always great, because the reason that I do have take CBD now or whatever, try to do that stuff, is because I have such anxiety, because I have to be perfect all the time in my head. And it's a lot of pressure. And I'm sure that you experience that too. I'm not alone that way. But
it's a lot of pressure. For me, it's the problem is like a lack of self-confidence. That's because the way.
But like, why? Why do you have self-confidence issues? Like,
I can explain it very easily.
Okay.
I knew it's a long time. Like the way I grew up in the poor village. Yeah. Poor, and then we kind of I guess starting from grade 1. We only have grade 5 for the primary. It's in the village. Okay. So I guess every year, except for the first year, every year you go to every semester. Start of the first day. We did not pay the tuition, so the teacher just asked anybody who has not paid, stand up, leave right now. I went through that till the junior high school. We have 3 years in junior high school. Every year the same, just humiliated.
Oh, I'm so sorry. The whole class.
No, I was not alone. So out of the class of 50 people, about 10, 7, 8, we all sent back home. You
were all the reprobates. They just let. How did you feel like? And did you connect with the other students that were like? I guess we all like our parents.
It's a little bit better than you are the only one.
Yeah,
but it's still pretty bad. Pretty
awful.
bad.
So then
so you always have the inferior feeling.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But when
that makes sense.
Like in the village, in the town, like very poor, so you feel you kind of brushed off. Because a lot of kids in the same situation. So we will find mental health was not that bad. So that even the senior high school was not that bad because in the senior high school we have some out of the class 60, 50 people. We have half the people from the town, from the we call another level below city. So it's not a city, but people having already their parents working factories already, not living a farm.
Okay.
So they're relatively well. So they have the fancy bikes. So they have okay bikes here, there. So they're way better than ours.
Yeah.
But at the meantime, we have half of the students from all the villages. So you feel you have people as poor as you. So the senior high school, I was not feeling bad.
Oh, good. Okay,
because
finally.
You had people.
Different walks of life. That's
so
that makes
same
sense.
level of poor. So you have people, not that bad. But then the worst time is the university time. So the first time, the big city. First time to us, Tianjin University, or the so the university. So we have the small class. We have 28 or 28 students, classmates.
Yes.
I'm the only one from a village. So everybody else had money. They come every semester. When you came to the university, the parents gave you 2,000 or 3,000 or something. Instead of 3,000, I get 500. Then they went to restaurants after weekend, whatever. So I could not go.
Oh.
Literally.
So then you're also now like
So
don't
I was
get to
the only
socialize.
one.
Yeah.
So I was the only one.
Oh,
so
no.
that time was pretty bad. So,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So that's
where
so
it traces
over the
back
time.
to.
Yeah. So all the time back, very sensitive, super sensitive.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Because you're obviously a lovely, charming person.
But I always try to kind of do the meditation thing.
Yes.
To tell myself when we have this kind of bad feelings, sensitive, like kind of you always feel hurt. You always feel somebody trying to hurt you.
Yeah.
Hurt your feelings.
Yes.
So every time that happens, I was working my magic in my mind.
Oh, so even then,
Yeah. But that's still pretty bad.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
So
that's hard.
So this kind of luckily the first job that was 2001. After the graduation of this good major, the computer science, that time was booming for the technology sector.
Yeah.
There. So the first job was amazing.
Oh, that's great.
So that cured a lot of stuff.
Okay, good.
So slowly, so I think that's nothing. It's a bad experience, but it's great. Helped me build the character.
It's true. It does. I mean, and you.
So working in my favor now, I guess. So
Yes.
I'm more like nothing matters to me.
It doesn't phase you as much.
Yeah.
Nice.
Exactly. So.
And then you probably have more empathy for people. Like
Exactly.
I think,
So I'm super sensitive to other people's situations
That's
as
good.
well. So,
That's very good. And some people don't have that because they didn't have that.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody would wish a bad experience, obviously. But I think that sometimes you talk to people, and if they don't have, they're like, well, you should be able to buy a car, and they don't really understand that, like, oh, that's not everyone's situation.
Exactly.
You may not, you
So
don't have these
I
experiences.
see people on the street here or there, really, some their own fault, some not their fault,
Yeah.
but you're in bad situation. Some people they end up there.
And even if it's their fault specifically, you realize, well, nobody is dying to be a drug addict. Like usually there's some pain that they're trying to cover up. They've had,
Or they just
extremely
simply
bad.
made a mistake.
Or they
They're
made a
super young.
mistake, exactly.
They're
And then
super young.
it got harder and harder.
Yeah.
And they associate with people that didn't have their best interest in mind. They didn't have a good family.
Yeah.
Like there's so many.
That's why I'm super sensitive.
It's
Even
good.
today,
It's good.
that's why I guess like with the life experience, like I feel like I can't stand other people.
That's really a beautiful quality, though, and it is important.
I went through that crazy, like really hard, crazy, like the countryside had nothing. Simply the parents.
Can't even imagine.
Yeah, the parents they did not, little 100% they care about you, but they just did not have enough to care themselves, so they had no time here. So it's just running around.
Just freedom, like free range children, but like
we had total freedom.
Yeah.
They never asked for anything.
That part is good, but also you don't have the nurturing because they're so busy and stressed
And
out.
also when I had my first memories, we were doing the hard lifting. As a 7, 5, 6 years old boy, I had to lift anything you could lift. I helped them because
it's not great for your body.
Yeah, they have a lot of stuff. I have 2 older brothers. All 3 of us, we worked. We even have assignment. Like this field is for you, and you have the lottery pick. Yeah. So we have a lottery pick, like put like 3 pieces of small paper, and then in a bottle, and then you take one three brothers take one. You are in charge of this field.
Oh my god!
Seriously, you are taking.
Oh, what a terrible lottery! That's not the best lottery you could enter.
Yeah, we always do
That's
that. To
so
be fair,
funny. I mean, it's great, and it's just funny to think about where you're just like, well, that's a. Yeah,
my father is very disciplined. He got really good principle. He just born in the wrong time, wrong place.
Sure.
Otherwise, if he's really talented, if he was born here, he would be a Elon Musk.
So I mean that's been my dad's experience too, because he grew up in a time where they discriminated and he was not allowed to go to university, and so he was extremely intelligent, but he was
my father got only 3 years of education.
Yeah.
Only 3 years.
3 years period.
Yeah.
Like he was in grade 3, they would consider. Or what would you consider?
Because
not even that much.
Because his father died when he was in the third grade, so he was only 9, or he had to stop the school to help his mom.
Okay.
He was in charge of the whole family. When that's my grandma. My grandmother, when I was a kid, he always tried to if we did not behave, she always said, "You learn from your father. He's in charge of the whole family." When he was 10, you're still doing this, playing on it every day.
Yeah, but you also should be able to. I mean, okay, look, there are circumstances. Your dad rose to the occasion, and it's beautiful. But it's also as a child, you should be able to be enjoying being a child. Ideally, in the ideal world, not obviously because of circumstances.
Yeah, she's three brothers, we always fought together. But we always walk a small tract. We say it's a farm, but it's not a farm. We call peasants. We're only peasants. Every family depends on how many members in the family. They give you a little bit. They had a calculation. So you have a small tract of land here. So you grow wheat, or grow soybeans, or grow sweet potato. Sweet potato, and also some kind of rice paddy.
Yes.
And then you have, you total, the whole family owns only a certain amount of land total. Okay. But then they split by different locations. Okay. So you have small tract here, small tract there.
Really?
Yeah. Because you have whole village, they want to, because this part of the land is more fertile. Okay. And that's not that good.
So then you skip that maybe.
No.
Or you get some of that instead of this.
Because it's fair.
Yeah.
To all the families. So they split up. So you have a little tract here, have 5 different locations, for example. So that time, when in the summer, you have a lot of the bugs on the paddy field. So we don't have pesticide, which was organic back that day. Yeah. Fortunately, we didn't have money that time to buy the pesticide. Yeah. So my father.
It's better for you, to not. I guess it's better for the food, for no pesticides. Yeah.
So my father gonna say we have 5, or at least we have 3 big ones. Okay, your 3 brothers. We have a lottery pick. So who is in charge of this one to take all the bugs, take all the worms? So we just had the lottery.
So you were the pesticide.
We literally go there, and it's this tall, the paddy.
The paddies, okay.
Yeah, this tall. So you just walk by by the columns, right? So you walk through there. You see the leaf like a rat. Yeah. So you open it up. It's a fat worm like this long. So you put them in a bottle. We have a bottle a little bit slim.
Wow.
So at after 2 hours, you get the whole bottle.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Oh,
and when we came back, we dumping to the chickens, and that's the treats.
Yes, they're food. Oh, okay, the cycle of life.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That is amazing, and that's really hard work, especially for a small child.
Yeah, and the scary part is because it's high, the paddy, and then you cannot see your feet when you walk. Okay. There's a little water because it's growing water. The water this deep, so sometimes you just walk there, but you don't know something on your feet. Sometimes there's snake.
Oh,
yeah, that's the scary part.
Oh,
yeah, I still remember you have to brave yourself.
Oh my gosh!
And you kind of open up, little clear at least a few meters, no snake.
Yeah, no snake. Yeah, that's an experience you don't have in North America generally. It's well, I mean, it depends on the place, but yeah, that's hard. That's very hard.
So the snake is the number one enemy. Because it's creepy.
Yeah. They're creepy. What do you feel? Sorry.
They're scared of us too. In most scenario, if we encounter and we run this way, they run that way. They're scared of us.
Yeah. I mean, the same thing with obviously rats or whatever. Generally, they don't want you to be around them anymore than you, unless they're very aggressive. But so then, okay. So I think this do you now when when you're in North America, sometimes you will see people who have snakes as pets. How do you feel about that?
It's not necessary.
Well, like, hey, that's kind of how. So I have a number of friends who have rats as pets, and I used to have like negative experience of rats in apartments and whatever. And I'm always like, well, that's nice for you, like that you. So I just can't even imagine with snakes. You're like,
totally
must you do it? Yeah, could you? Not necessary. Is such a good way of putting it. I mean, this is great. I'm glad that people have such love for these creatures because snakes are in their own way beautiful, but also, maybe not as
even
do you eat it?
In the village, our house like we have like made of mud. The wall made of mud. So at the beginning, now it's bricks and tiles. Now it's nicer, much nicer, thanks to the leadership.
Yes, okay.
Whatever.
Better leadership, really? Okay.
I don't know.
No, we don't know. All right.
But when I was young, we keep in the yard because all the sides wall made of mud. Mm-hmm. So there's some holes, like dry holes like that. There's rats living there. So what we do, like the young boy, really bad. We put like we get a bucket of water and just fill the hole, and then sometimes they force out. We force them out, and then we're running them, kill them. We're running.
But you have to, even though it's it's terrible, and I wish they. I
We just because you have just so many grains. They took some, and we.
You can't have them there. They're vermin, but like at the same time, of course, it's like ideally you don't want to have to kill them, but they don't like decide to go somewhere on their own. That's what I feel is very frustrating about vermin. Like the times even I've had mice or whatever too, you're like, I don't want to have to kill them. That's just not something I would ideally want to do. But you can't talk them out of like I've had so many conversations with mice. I'm like, just leave. I don't want to do anything. Just leave. But they don't listen.
Every family has at the time we have to have 2 cats or something.
Yeah.
Every family.
Yeah.
The cats really good at that.
They're so good at that. Yeah.
So good at that, like catching mice.
Mice,
Yeah. Mice. And it's amazing. And then sometimes, but then when after several years, the life was getting much better.
Yeah.
So we have meals, we had the good things that we had a fish to feed cats. Sometimes leftover fish.
Oh.
So the cat is so happy.
Oh, the cats have good life.
The cat and the fish, they love fish like crazy. Like cannot explain it, but like they were so well fed.
Oh
the
my
cats.
God.
So they had a good life, better than ours. I guess.
That's really true.
Some extreme case, they don't catch mice anymore, so they kind of making friends with them.
I've heard of this too.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
Like,
some even like extreme case. Our cat's still fine. My aunt's his cat was not good at killing rats, and then big one was wrestling with her cat.
Yeah, it's terrible. The other rats have a better chance. They're like, fuck you.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
So some they lost the killing. Some cats they lost the killing instinct.
Yeah.
And also skills. It was kind of you lost respect.
Of course, you're like that was your whole job.
Yeah.
That's what you guys were
good
doing.
Life. That's a good life for the cats.
Great life for a cat.
At the beginning, the cats really amazing because we have the greens every summer we had the wheat, the grain, and then the autumn we always have the rice.
Yeah.
So we don't have so many bags. So we have those kind of things like a ring, kind of this size. The ring made of some stuff. I guess it's kind of a waved something. But you have a ring to get this high. So you dump the grain inside.
Okay.
So you
just silo. Is it a silo?
But it's inside our house. It's
okay.
It's not very high.
Okay.
Inside the house.
Yes.
And which is a pool house. But then you always find rats.
Yeah.
So they kind of there's a little bit space between that ring and then the wall.
Okay.
So the cats can can go in to get them.
Yes. Well, that's
During the day you can see them running. Some rats.
The rats. Yeah. Do you see them because I have noticed around Lionel Rue Metro, a bunch of other places where you can see a whole bunch of them scatter, and you're like, oh guys, do you mind?
But in the university camp, after the cafeteria, big cafeteria, they have always 30.
Yeah.
And then you see the big rat. I killed several of them by literally out-maneuvering them.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I did that. I was super quick because I had the experience. I got a lot of good skills from the farming.
So you're part cat, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
50% cat.
I can predict their next turn.
No way.
I just stepped on them.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
I showed that to my wife several times.
How did she feel about it? She's like pretty impressed.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
you did it.
Yeah, that's my skill.
I was gonna say it's like a superpower.
That's my skill.
That's intense. That's
Also I can catch fish with my bare hand in the water.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah.
I've only heard about that. I've never seen anyone do that.
I was when growing up we had a good lake, good size of lake near our place when I was a kid, and we always catch fish with our bare hand.
Oh wow. That's a great skill too. And how fast do you have to be to like?
You have to feel them. You don't scare them. You feel they go this way. It's very gentle. That's technique. We got you have two hands together. Like when the fish go between here, you close. Before that, you just don't move that much. Don't scare. It's kind of you feel them. It's kind of follow their movement.
Yeah. Wow.
We got that like in Shenzhen, the first city, like my first great job, the only job in China when I was in China. In Shenzhen, that time you got money already, got good job. To have friends, old classmates. Like during the weekend, we went to a leisure place, like a place like you have fun, like a theme park, whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So the weekend group of friends, like 7, 8, like okay, the weekend off, let's go this park. They have some activities. You pay them $5, for example. There's a little pond. They made a little pond. They have fish inside. Whatever you catch, you take.
Oh, okay, and they're real fish.
Yeah, real fish.
Okay.
But like the water only this deep. But they swim really fast. You pay and you see a lot of them swimming, and then you pay them $5 whatever, and then you kind of take off your shoes, you go in and catch. And all my other friends, they could not catch even one. Within a few minutes, I got 10.
Oh, wow.
So the guy who watching this just literally told me to get out.
Okay, so it's like when you're if you go to La Ronge or some other like theme park, like the ones here, obviously, they're like, okay, if you're too good at the skill, they want you to leave. They're like, you're ruining it for everyone. It's the same thing. They're like,
my wife said, because most of my classmates from university, we end up working the same company in Shenzhen.
Okay.
So like we can all the classmates, they could not get nothing.
It's life experience, different life experience. You're like, I've never done this before. I don't know how to do it.
It's so easy because usually when I catch fish, the water is not that shallow.
Yeah.
It's only this shallow. You can see them, but in the wild you don't see them.
Yeah,
they have their terrain. So if you have you corner them, you corner them to the channel, to the edge of the water.
Oh, wow.
And this is so easy, and you see them.
That's so great because you've already done it at expert level, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So then you're going down levels. You're like, I can easily do this.
You see them.
Yeah, you can see them right here. Like you're just looking at your coworkers, like, what are you doing?
You just scare them away. They can get you, but that's so quick.
You wouldn't even. It's funny. I didn't even think about the fact that you originally wouldn't be seeing them. You would just be because you were saying you feel them, and I was like, okay, you feel them, and maybe you see them too, but you just felt them originally, and then okay, that's quite the skill.
Yeah, I got a lot of skills.
No, I don't doubt that. And like I said, one of the things that first appealed to me is we came here and we looked at the menu and it was so honest. It was so like there were things where you said like so you would be like this is a favorite dish or whatever. This is a very popular dish. And I love this one's particular. And then there were things where you're like, well, white people like it. Like you didn't phrase it like that, but like sometimes it was like, listen,
no,
no, you didn't write it like that. But like it was very clearly like, listen, our American people like they like the thing that's very sweet, Or sometimes you would say this is kind of like spicy and maybe if you're North American you don't like it, And it wasn't always phrased like that, but I think that it was extremely honest in terms of this is a dish I don't like. I don't think this is the best dish we make. Like, and I think you took off something off the menu recently, right? Yeah,
the orange beef.
French beef.
We did it wrong for several years.
Yeah, so you felt like you didn't do it well enough.
No, not at all. It's the technique was wrong.
Okay. My boyfriend liked it. I have to tell you, he did love it. I mean, it wasn't his favorite thing here, but he likes orange beef. He liked it here.
Yeah, it's always you can do that with genital chicken.
Yeah, okay.
Genital chicken is pretty good. We did the orange beef with the same way of doing genital chicken, which because the chicken and the beef they're so different about working with the dough.
Yeah. So
that's why we kind of the texture of the meat does not combine well with the
technique of cooking it, right? And
with the dough itself, it's not sticking too well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's
I see what you're saying.
And then I found out with other restaurant owners, like they came here to eat here. They have their restaurant only do the North American Chinese food completely.
Okay.
So what they told me is like they don't do that way. They don't do that. They kind of they just do the dry the batter with the the cornstarch, the starch, when just batter it, not doing the wet. We call the wet dough or something.
Yes, you cover it, you batter it with something, but they don't batter it. They just cover it with cornstarch and then they fry it.
Yeah, fry it and then do the stir fry afterwards.
Oh, okay.
But we try to copy the General
Tao chicken, which is I think why my boyfriend liked it, because he loves General Tao chicken. So he's like, now it's beef. You know, that's great for him. But I think that's really like. That's amazing that you guys were like, no, this isn't important. You obviously, you and your wife probably made that decision.
Yeah, it's better to be informative. So we try, but still, it's a you don't know if the restaurant gonna be do good or not, do well or not. But for me, it's easy. It's better to be kind of staying with the real thing.
Yeah.
You don't want to oversell or don't tell people saying, oh, this
is great when it's not. But then I think that's such a, it's very admirable. And we loved it, right? Because then I was like, oh, well, this is something you do think is good, so it must be really good, right? Like I think that with the diced chicken, you said something about it that was very complimentary, and the tree cup chicken, it's like, this is authentic, or this is, it's like, oh, that's exciting.
But I think it's like, if you try your best, I think even you don't oversell, still, I think certain amount of customer will appreciate it.
Very much.
So it will
works out.
Yeah. So it's as long as doing okay, it's fine. I'm not ambitious. I just want to.
You're very ambitious, but like you're not maybe ambitious with certain dishes. You're like, this one's okay. But like you got a lot of publicity off that, which I think is great, right?
Super lucky. That's great. Otherwise, I think I guess we're gonna finish the business. Because like at that time, like I was super tired as well, and especially when you're doing the restaurant for 7-8 years without any hope, without you don't see clearly, it's gonna work out well.
Oh no,
so especially the pandemic as well, so the profit margin was really bad. So and you don't see it's gonna getting better soon, or like I don't have the skills of cooking very well. So right now I'm picking up some basic cooking. I'm working 3 years in the pandemic, so in the kitchen, the basic ones, some of them like this one I can cook myself, but I try not.
Yeah. Does your wife cook all the dishes though?
Not at all. She's not even working in the restaurant. At the beginning she's working here, but now she's just only the weekend or his own vacation. She's helping out at one day or one night in the whole week.
Oh, I see.
So I'm in charge of. The funny thing is, at the beginning, she was working in the restaurant like as a waitress, in charge of the front, and then I was working IT. So over weekend and night, I came to help. Now it's totally opposite, or even more so. I 100% here, and she's probably only Saturday night.
Okay.
1 week of one night.
Because you have really lovely staff too. Like everybody's very nice.
We're lucky. Yeah, we're lucky.
Well, and you also attract. I also feel like that's.
I want to be a people person. I talk to people. I try to treat them, as best I could. That's why I feel the confidence I can survive in this business, because it's hospitality, right? Because hospitality. That's my thing.
Yeah, you're a great people person.
I try, because I deal with so many people in my whole life, like from that background.
Yeah, so and various different walks of life too, right? So that you have that.
That's why long run, I have confidence.
Yeah.
But sometimes I feel bad.
Well, maybe that's normal then.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like people just don't like us.
Oh, no. I mean, I'm obviously not in your skin.
But in the long run, I feel like this could be right business for me, to be honest.
It seems like it. It seems like people like this. I mean, I brought a few of my friends here, and they've been so impressed. Like one of my friends, he loves Chinese food and everything, and he came here and he was like, I can't believe I didn't know this place existed before, and he was so excited because he was like, this is really good food. Yeah, so I mean, I feel like you guys have, like, you've got all the things going. You're a very personal owner. You're a good face for your company. And then you've also got great food, a good sense of humor with the menu. I think, like, you've obviously nailed everything.
The whole traditional Chinese food, I think we are doing is a little bit conservative. We only have very small selection of it's better. My engineer side tell me I have to limit the size of the menu. But like if you go the traditional, some of I know in the town,
Yeah.
some of they have a lot more choices.
Pages and pages, but
Yeah,
sometimes it's overwhelming because you're like, well, what do you do well? Like I'm a person who's very indecisive, and the more choices I have, the more overwhelmed. I'm like, give me a smaller menu. I mean, you guys are.
That's why the North American Chinese food restaurant, there's I guess majority of Chinese restaurants in Montreal or in Quebec overall, like 80% or more than that is only serving North American Chinese food.
I know.
So they don't bother doing this cumin beef. They don't.
But it's so good. Yeah, okay. I mean, I'm a little bit mixed.
They are the ones making money. Seriously, they are because the profit margin, the efficiency, everything is there.
Yeah.
So I'm right in the middle. That's my thing. Everything I do is I want to stay in the middle. I like the balance thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I do the traditional, but I want to keep 2 or 3, 5 North American, and also make it a small size, fewer selection of dishes on the menu. But I provide even more than North American Chinese food. But I'm not so traditional, so it's kind of I'm in the middle.
I know. I mean, I feel like I imagine from what you're saying, of course, it does make you less because I've been to North American places, Chinese places, and there's like a ton of people. But also, this is so exciting because you've got that nice mix of.
Yeah, I guess my observation may not be correct. Like it's like a lot of people they say, my observation of several years of running this restaurant is like a lot of people they like Chinese food, but the real is North American Chinese. They are not. Because they not some of them not even exposed to rice cooked pork, real tradition. Yeah. So I have a good opportunity right now, especially after doing the videos to explain every dish.
Yes.
Probably I have opportunity to get more customer base.
Yeah.
To expose to explain these dishes in video to some our potential customers.
Yeah.
If they know, you have twice cooked pork, even it's greasy, oily. But it's tasting good. A lot of people in China, they eat this way.
Yeah, it sounds good. Yeah. They're willing to try it.
Yeah, exactly. If I have the video can win over, maybe,
I think
that's my hope,
I think that's a great idea because I do think some people are curious, but they're a little bit scared, like
they're going to waste the money, to be honest.
Yeah,
they're going to, they order this food. Oh, nice name, twice cooked pork. But they are so oily, this never my thing.
Right, I didn't think I was doing that. But yeah, you wanted to, that's exactly it. You want to have people that know what they're in for, but also, maybe get them curious about something they haven't tried before.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's like, well, General Tao's chicken's delicious. However, there's more, and obviously, especially
so that's why I hope my video, some of them, they got like 100 views. Some, I guess, twice almost get 700 views already. Or some, they get more views, like spicy spice chicken you accept already.
Yeah, I loved
it.
Chicken,
yeah, I want more people to like them.
Yeah.
So that's my kind of hope in the long run. So me doing the video to explain that dish in detail, so get more people to really try it. Some people they don't even try it. They say, what kind of stuff? That's crazy. I like my General Tao chicken or the Cantonese fried noodle.
I mean, listen, listen, I know North Americans can be very challenging because sometimes everything is weird to them if they haven't tried it.
But young people really accept more.
Good. Good. I'm happy to hear that. I mean, I have weird conversations with my mother when she, who eat my parents weren't rich, obviously different circumstance, but my parents weren't rich, and we would have for breakfast we would have, this is their specialty, it wasn't they necessarily made me eat it, but congelated fat, the fat from different dishes that you would make, you would put that all in a container, and then you would spread it on toast in the morning.
Seriously?
That's because that's
Is that even healthy?
No, of course not. But Eastern Europeans are not known for being healthy. That's everything's also
they eat a lot of pork as well.
They eat a lot of pork. They eat a lot of fried food. They eat a lot of greasy things. Are fried in lard a lot of times.
I think they could like our twice cooked pork.
They could, but that's the thing is that also even people get very set in their ways. They will eat chicken feet. They will eat a lot of things that but then there's certain things where they're just they don't have that in our country. We don't know what to do, And North Americans can be like that, the older generation, where it's I'm used to my sandwiches and I'm used to this, and you're could you try something? No, it's food. I feel food is very low risk as something to try. right? It's not skydiving.
Yeah, I think
It's food.
a lot of time it's generation food.
It's very general, and like also what you've been taught. If you're taught to be a little bit, conservative.
Yeah, sometimes if we
scary.
give them the imperial roast first,
Uh-huh.
and then the soup first, and
Oh my God.
before they finish, and if we bring up the main dish, they say, "How dare you!"
Oh, really?
We're not done with. They're not saying how dare you,
but like that's their problem is they didn't come in orders.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, because I thought you were like, okay, what I thought you were going to say, and I'm sorry I anticipated, is that you were going to be like, we tempt them. We give them the imperial rolls, we give them the things they're familiar with, then we give them something different. No, they just didn't. They thought you get the imperial rolls, you eat that. You have your soup, you eat that. Then
exactly.
It's all coming at the same time. They don't know what's happening.
They have to say like, okay, we do courses.
Yeah.
But in Chinese food, we don't have courses. We have English courses. We have English courses, but
yeah, we don't.
we learn.
We do have courses though, but
we
like,
learn English.
oh, funny. Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah, because I mean, that's such a just every way.
But
place
we
has a
have to
different
be
way.
very careful. Like some, we see the gentleman ladies, the senior. Some with you see they're more like formal. We have to be extra careful, to be honest. But if it's young people,
they're
20s,
they're like cash.
Don't.
Yeah, exactly.
We sometimes it's cooked too early. A lot of times, like when we just serve the soup, and then the kitchen they have the order already. The kitchen cooked the main dish already, so I feel like it's gonna be cold.
Yeah,
so I bring
you
it to
bring
the
it
table.
Right away, yeah.
I would say sorry, it's like cooked already. Sorry, it's too early. They said, don't
worry about it. Yeah,
exactly.
Who cares?
Yeah.
I think that's exactly it. It's like they're more casual and they understand it's just fun. Like you'll eat when you.
Yeah. But some kind of people, they will say, it's too early. Don't bring this. But you want me putting microwave?
Yeah, exactly. Well, actually, I think they do. I think some people they're just like that. They're like, oh, and warm it up. And you're like, that's disgusting.
And another thing is like the some like this. They expect our plate is hot, like Italian, French cuisine.
Oh,
like our plate is
warming.
Yeah. You have to install those kind of warming.
Yes,
but
it's disgusting.
We don't have that at all. But it's our cold plate. But it's really hot when it's freshly cooked. The food itself super hot. Yeah. When you touch the bottom, it's hot as well.
Oh.
But the whole around. But you sitting there for 5 minutes, it's not hot anymore.
Of course.
Especially the shrimps and then it's light like this. It's not too much heat. The food is hot, but it goes away goes away really quick because it's a small portion.
That's how heat works. Yeah,
exactly.
Like I think they should know that.
Yeah, goes out really quick. Especially the shrimps. We got only 13 shrimps in the plate. Yeah. So it goes out, cools down really quick.
Of course.
So after 5-10 minutes, the customer just saying like, oh, the plate is cold.
Yeah, that's why we asked you to eat it right away.
Yeah, so
people are interesting.
Yeah, but we cannot go back to the wok we put in the microwave. But they understand as well. I would say, yeah, you want me to put in the microwave? They said, okay.
Yeah, if they want that. I mean, I personally can't stand food that's microwave because I do think it takes away from the flavor. But they'd rather it was warm, right? And that's fine.
Especially we have several. Yeah, it's like we don't have the concept of the hot plate. But the hot plate, I really like it as well. But we don't do it. Yeah. When I go to an Italian restaurant, I see the waitress use a towel to hold the. Yeah. It's pretty hot.
Yeah, that's a skill. Yeah. People bringing things to tables is honestly a skill that I don't have. I'm very shaky and I'm uncoordinated. So like I only did cocktail waitressing for a weekend and they gave up on me. But it was the two problems where they wouldn't let you have a notepad and I can't remember anything. So I wouldn't know. I'd take the order 6 people, I'd walk away, no idea what any of them said. I'd have to go back and be like, hi guys, so what did you have? And they were like, you must be the dumbest person. But then also, then I have shaky hands, so you're like, oh, we bring this thing. So anyway, people with the hot plates, there's a circus act as far as I'm concerned.
And they can get several at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know what anyone's doing with that. That's incredible. But yeah, well, I'm glad you have mostly decent customers and not the people that don't know what it's like to go to a restaurant that's different. That may not be exactly
the same. Yeah, we
see
all kinds of customers. It's an amazing experience.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
You have to be good with people though, because
but I have to be super patient as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I have to be super patient. I have to. But for other waitresses, they may not. That I'm more sensitive. I would say these customers, they may a little bit more formal.
Okay.
Like other.
You can adapt.
Yeah.
Right? That's the big
difference.
Adapt,
I have to talk to them certain way to say like, oh, do you want to even ask? Do you want to be specific after this? Then do this, after that. Yeah.
But yeah, you're like, I think that's another thing, is the sensitivity and intuitiveness, where you can gauge. Okay, I have to talk to this person. This person's easy. I can just give them the food. They'll be happy.
I was running around here or there.
Yeah.
It's very, very. But it's like I would say like more like next generation or the young people, they're gonna accept our food more and more.
I agree.
All of them.
It's nice. I mean, that's it's the thing that's so exciting, of course, about like the younger generation, is you hear them talking about different topics, and you're like, wow, you guys are like really progressive. Like you guys, like they see things that like
progressive is amazing because it's progress.
It's progress, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. We make progress. In the 1,000 years ago, they have slaves, or 200 years ago they have slaves.
Well, yeah, they still have slaves in some countries, but like I feel like it's so exciting to hear, like sometimes you hear younger people talk and like 18 years old or whatever, and they're so progressive. Like they would never say the kind of things that I grew up hearing when I was younger about people, and you're like, oh, good, because if you said something terrible, they would look at you sideways, and you're like, that's how it should be, instead of it being like, oh, okay, that's just Bob. Bob's racist, I think that's nice.
I guess some name is like Jeff,
Yeah.
Right? You say, well,
this is how Jeff is. But I think like more and more the younger generation, it feels like they're getting better about not accepting that. Where it's like, yeah, Jeff's an asshole. That's why he talks about people like that. Instead of it being like, it's just Jeff.
Yeah. But overall, like I don't have too much experience here. But overall, I guess it's progressed a lot with like 10, 20 years. Like even the like as a woman, like you see like 20 years ago and now, like
I mean, there's still something that's frustrating, but yes,
but a huge progress.
Huge also in what we acknowledge. Like obviously, and this has only changed in the past 6 years or something. But sometimes, people have better conversations about what it means about consent. Like that's honestly the past 10 years have only been the people talking about consent in a real way, where it's like, oh, even in a dating situation, there needs to be consent. You're like, I knew that, but I didn't think we could have these conversations. It's huge. And like because I'm, in my 40s, a lot of my friends have children that are grown up now. So you have people that you'll have like teenagers and 20-year-olds, and then their kids. And when they have these conversations, you're like, oh, your level of like what you're talking about is so elevated, about gender, about politics, about, just, it's so much better than, and obviously every place is different, but sometimes you'll read things and you're like, you guys can calm down. Like the people will get defensive about the weirdest things at their 40s and above, where they're like, oh, well, how come, they're going to be started calling everybody not a gender? You're like, and then what? And then what happens? It's okay, like but I feel like when you're talking to younger generation, they've just so internalized these things about, gender being a spectrum, and about mental health being a spectrum, and all these things. That's so exciting and alien in a way,
but
as you get older.
Yeah, is that true? Like the people getting older and they're more conservative? Is that?
I think that some people, they're so confused about what's happening, right? Like, I mean, look, we're in our 40s. Sometimes some of the things come up and you're like, okay, I've never even thought of something that way. And I feel like maybe, I think there's people that are 50s and are very progressive, but I think that a lot of times people will be like, but I've always called someone a man or a woman. So you're wrong because you're saying something different to me, right? Like I saw there was a thing in the New York Post, which is a notorious rag, but like, the New York Post, and the headline was so like extreme, where it's like the military is going to stop having people say yes ma'am or no or yes sir, and you're like, and so what, right? Like, and people were writing like, oh, that's the woke culture and that's what's happening. And you're like, listen, that's not a big deal. What's the worst thing that can happen if you don't talk to people by gender? It's okay. Like, it's such a non-thing, where it's like, this is not a big issue, but they've made it such a big issue, especially conservatives. So I feel that when you talk to younger generation, they've just internalized gender doesn't mean anything, like, and we will respect whatever someone says their name is or their identity is, and we'll just go with that. And that's nice. It's very, it's just like, oh, I just respect a person and what they want from me. And that's like all it's about, really, I think, as an older person. I'm like, just respect what people want to be called. like I mean, I have, it's like if you want a shortening of your name, right? And you're like, this is my name now, and people are like, no, I won't call you that. You're like, why is it a big deal? So
That makes
sometimes,
sense,
so sometimes it's just like, it's so about just basic respect. And I think the younger generation has a lot more understanding of body autonomy and respect, and that it's such a part of their core of how they should behave towards people. That's so different than what I grew up with,
Exactly. So that's the
Huge.
progress a lot.
Yeah, huge progress. So that's great. That's great, and I can obviously,
But I guess on the other side, the conservative or something. There's a balance between progressive and conservative. It's like you progress too fast, too quickly.
But then, like, yes, but then at the same time, it should
So there's
never
always
be
some you go
pushback.
fast, you pull back.
But-
that's the whole balance.
Sure, but then at the same time, it's like,
But
well,
you don't know which one is supposed to be more, which one is supposed to be less.
But yes, but at the same time, you're like, listen, human rights is not something that should have ever taken so long to progress, right? Like, in a way, it's like, well, when do you let...
It is taking long.
It's taking very long. And then
100 years ago, they chop your head off.
Well, yeah.
And then they feel you're not suffering, not scaring enough. They gut you out and then burn you.
Exactly.
When you're still alive.
And then, like, even things
The
like in
brave
my
heart.
generation, like, date rape has only been a concept since, like, maybe 20, 30 years. And before, it was no such thing as date rape. You just couldn't acknowledge this.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you knew the person, so that's not,
Mm.
So I feel like there's just so much where it's like, well, it doesn't matter how fast it is. People shouldn't be waiting for their human rights.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like, well, it's about someone's conservative. That's about them to change. They're the wrong ones. I know it must be uncomfortable, but like they should get used to that.
But it's very, very different in the world. Look at what happened in Iran, Arab, Saudi,
Well, that's
you know.
But like that's a whole different bag that I can't address and don't know enough about. But no, those things are horrible, but also wrong.
You know, in
universally
China, 100
wrong.
years ago, not 100 years ago, 1900, the last dynasty, the women, they have to wrap their, you know that?
Yeah, they wrap their feet.
Yeah.
To make them smaller and daintier.
This much big.
Horrible, and they're all deformed.
All the bones
Yeah,
deformed.
and you're like, this is horrible. And when you think about it, you're just like, it feels like it's universally wrong.
That's only before 1911. That's 110 years ago.
I know, and I mean, I don't know what to say to that because I'm like, it's just so much. There's so much
Even
suppression.
even my grandparents, like grandma, that time she was mentioning that maybe like her parents that time was doing that rapping thing.
Horrible. It's just horrible. And then that's like an extreme thing, but you think even
But
like
if you look at that today, what in Iran, in the Saudi, like the today, it's like imaginable. Like women, they still, you know, they kind of they follow. They will restrict that much, you know.
Yeah.
In China, is pretty, you know, the women that our bosses now.
Are they?
I feel like we need to go back to the dynasty time. We lost so much power since then.
Well, I guess they're just smarter.
And we have Confucius. You know the
Yes,
Confucius?
of course.
Confucius literally in Confucius says women are superior, inferior. They have to obey to the.
Wow,
to the man.
even he said that.
Yeah, Confucius. That's a wisdom for more than 2,000 years,
Horrible.
all the time.
Yeah, and then like, and that's the thing. It's so...
in China. It's from the first emperor. We call it 221 BC. Before that time, the first emperor united the whole China. China was a dynasty. It's an empire. It's an empire system.
Yeah.
So they use a Confucius philosophy to rule the people. To see like you have the inferior. You have to listen to obey your like a superior, 100%.
Okay.
The wife has to obey the husband, and if the husband dies, you listen to your oldest son. Your mother listen to the oldest son.
Oh my God!
That's in the Confucius system.
That's horrible.
That's more than 2,000. Confucius was about, I'm not 100% sure about the exact time, probably 300, 400, or 500 BC. That is a great philosopher that time, 500 BC.
Yeah.
So, but his philosophy was taken on by all the emperors. So emperor find, this system, this amazing.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. You have to listen to me. If I don't like it, I just kill you.
Yeah.
It's an amazing system.
And who does and like who doesn't want that? It's like I've spoken to men who are not even like bad people, but they've been like, well, it was a lot easier when women didn't have jobs, and it's like, sure, it's a lot easier because then they just do what you want. They don't have their own autonomy. They're not going to get a job, and you're like, well, whatever you do is fine because you support me, and I have no choice. So you're like, oh,
we have a lot of
weird.
in the Chinese history, we have a lot of dynasties. Like every time I feel bad at home, I always dream back to the dynasty time. So
you're like, it was worse, that kind of thing, or what?
a lot better.
It was a lot better.
For men.
Yeah,
so
for men.
In the
Oh,
family,
sure.
yeah, like
Okay.
you have to listen to 100%. You know.
But then wasn't it also very
No, I have
classist?
to-
So if you were poor, it didn't work, or like it didn't matter? Like, did you?
Even
like,
the poor family, they still have that
that
system.
structure,
Yeah,
okay.
that structure. The wife,
So you're like, oh, this sounds better.
yeah, a lot better.
Oh, come on.
No,
You don't like that your wife challenges you sometimes? You have
not only
conversations?
challenging. That's a wrong word.
Controls.
Yeah, bossing around.
Buzzing around. But then she, like you said, she's the one that speaks better French. There's
I
some
always
skills
told
she
her,
has.
you are lucky living today, not in a
True.
dynasty town,
True.
or dynasty Qing, or dynasty Ming. We used to have the system. You listen to us 100%.
Where'd you meet your wife?
Actually, we were super lucky. We were in the college.
Oh,
we met
wow.
in college. So.
What'd you like about her?
Actually, that's very, very interesting to my experience.
Okay.
She was really first time I saw a woman so confident. I did not
You
have
like that?
yeah because I was
Uh-huh.
I did not have any confidence
Uh-huh.
at all. So when I saw the first time we had like through online dating, actually that time was chatting room. Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I remember
Yeah,
online
like,
dating when I was younger,
Yeah,
but oh wow,
2000
okay.
around 2000.
Yeah,
Yeah,
chat rooms. I remember chat
Yeah,
rooms.
chat room,
That's
and
awesome.
then
Okay.
we met. We were just sharing some crackers or something, playing ping pong. And then the way she talked was kind of, she's from city,
Yeah.
so that's so different. When you're from the village to see people from a city, the way they talk, they kind of, why did you feel like very natural? You feel like very confident. But that's the best personality I ever dreamed. So seriously.
That's so exciting. Okay.
But then over the time, that could be bossy.
Well, but of course, because
It's
like
a double-edged sword.
I know it is. Of course it is. Yeah, and of course it is. That's
You
the
know,
thing.
I'm
It's
always
like,
humble. I'm always like thinking it could be my fault. I always do that. Oh, this thing could be my problem.
well,
Yeah. It's like you always think twice about yourself. But for them, it's
but she has to be because it's also
your problem.
But also, like the way people relate to her is so different that she has to be extra confident for people to take her even the small modicum of seriously that they would take a man, right? Like she has to. I mean, I have to be much more assertive than most men for people to hear what I'm saying, right? So like, I'm not trying to take her side. I'm just saying
But
that like
sometimes it could be the price I have to pay.
Yeah,
Like
no,
you
it's
admire people with self-confidence.
that's right.
That's the price I pay today.
That's right. That you're
Because-
like, I love her confidence.
Yeah,
Sometimes maybe not as confident.
Yeah, it gets stuck. You know?
Yes, exactly. Well, of course.
Yeah.
It's like my boyfriend is very kind. He's probably, well, he's much kinder than I am, honestly. Much more giving with people. But then sometimes you're like, okay, but you have to not be as giving. You have to be like, so the things you admire, sometimes you're like, well, but also don't be as much this. Need to tone it down a little. I mean, again, he's so kind and I love him for it. But sometimes I'm like, well, don't let people treat you like that. Like, don't, you can be too nice. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why like 20-some years ago I thought that's a great quality.
Yes.
You know, the personality. Now when I have my own confidence back, I don't see that too much a good asset, anymore.
Oh no.
But now I see
Okay.
like, I'm more relaxing right now than before. So I see
Okay.
like I see all kind of personalities, all kinds of personalities. Like I can assess them more like.
Can you draw better boundaries with, like, in your relationship? Is there any way, like, you can be like, okay, I prefer you didn't boss me around as much. Like, would she be like, maybe I can stop doing that as much, or that's not going to work?
It's self-contradicting. If if they listen to your advice, that's not bossy
Yeah,
anymore.
I guess so. You're right. You're right. Okay,
Exactly.
that's true.
So we tried. You try first few times, then you find out you always.
Oh, it's always going to work this
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. I get it. No, that's yeah.
But I have a little theory about this relationship thing. Sometimes it's just about who's caring a little bit less.
About things.
Yeah,
like,
about sometimes
yes.
if you want to win an argument, one side just saying I don't care. I just kind of force a little bit up my side,
Okay.
and then if you want to have a okay relationship, you have to back out. One has to back out a little bit.
Yes.
Back down a little bit. So
Yes.
that always the reasonable one. I always say, Okay.
All right, I'm the one that's going to give up on this. It's not as big a problem.
Yeah, exactly. Because otherwise, what we want to have a fight or something, you know?
So just like, do you just feel safe that she doesn't watch a 2-hour video that you can say these things, or like?
Not, I don't think she's gonna watch.
That's what I mean. It's like you're like, okay, let me make sure these are unedited and they're 2 or 3 hours, and there's no way she's gonna watch it. Then I can say whatever I want. Be like, she's very bossy, and you're like, she's not gonna watch this.
This is fine. I guess some people they know they're bossy, and then
and they're okay with that.
Yeah,
okay, that's fine.
Yeah, they feel that's my achievement.
Oh, okay, good for her. Yeah, all right. It's like, well, he says I'm bossy and I am bossy. That's okay.
Yeah, been together like for 2000. Yeah, 22 years.
2,000 years? Oh my God!
No,
since 2000.
Yeah, 20 years already.
Pretty, 23.
Yeah, pretty lucky.
That's pretty great.
Yeah, it's my generation that time. Like people like in the campus university, you kind of relationship always said pure, no money involved. Right after you step off the campus, and when you introduce, I introduced to meet somebody, and then both of them fresh out of school, they did not know each other, and they're gonna question your motive. That's really.
What do you mean? Like
very, very cynical that time.
What do you mean? So if you're not introduced through school, if you meet someone outside, what do you mean they question your motive? Like
it's like they're gonna do a lot of calculations, like you have good job, you have good family background or something. Yeah, but before, like just a month, two students. Two students, they're gonna pure, and then you have. But then, like that's why we were lucky. A lot of friends from classmates, right? Yeah. Classmates. Like once they try to meet somebody outside of when they're working, so they always like both sides are gonna do those kind of they will think, what's your family like?
Yeah, what's your income?
Yeah, income. Yeah, it's very very crazy.
I can see that. I mean that again, that happens here all the time.
Yeah. Even today, the young people, not only between themselves, they're two sides of parents. They're gonna do the calculation.
Yes.
They're gonna vote. They're gonna vote 100%.
Yeah,
like
that's fair. So
how many houses do you have? How many condos do you have?
But it means so little in some ways too, though, right?
I
know that's how it works, and I respect
it's
them.
It's stress like crazy.
I'm sure it is, but it's like ultimately you're like you got to get along, and some of that doesn't have to do.
They're doing a matching game.
Yeah.
Literally comparing numbers.
It's terrible. It's terrible because it's like that has nothing to do with whether. I mean, some aspects have to do. I don't want to be naive. Some of those things do play a part in a relationship. You do need to have similar goals and similar values. But some of it is like, do you get along? Because some of that's important. But I say this, of course, is a very...
we met in the school, and then so we kind of... we're lucky to kind of that time we did not care too much.
Yeah.
Then you regret, you married to a village kid. you know, it's seriously, sometimes, it's the two families very different.
Yes. Oh, really? For both of you, of course, because of the
from city,
classes too.
Yeah, from city.
Yeah.
And then from village.
Yeah. No, that happens a lot, though.
Even they cannot communicate. It's a good thing.
They can't communicate
because the dialect is so different.
You're kidding.
Yeah. One side, because one more official in the city. The people in the city, especially the little bit the generation thing.
Okay.
That generation in the city, they speak okay to the official Mandarin.
Okay.
But in the village, that generation always like they have the dialect is crazy. You cannot understand. Even my parents, they cannot understand.
Oh man, again, that keeps them apart.
It's a one-way communication because they watch TV official Mandarin. So the people in the village, they all understand official Mandarin.
Okay.
But the people from city, they cannot understand our Mandarin. Our Mandarin is little bit have our own kick.
That's so fascinating. I didn't know that.
But the young people growing up with video today, because they interact with social media, the TV, and then the way they train themselves with the way they talk, the dialect already gone, accent is already gone.
So it's like they can adapt to almost all the dialects.
Yeah. So the young people growing up village, they are okay. But the old generation, their accent is pretty bad.
That's so interesting. That's funny because it's like, okay, I mean, that has relevance, like obviously anywhere where it's like, okay, somebody will speak a certain level, a certain way, and it's like, oh, that person sounds more educated, but they'd be able to understand each other. But that's fascinating that it's like to the extent where you can't understand each other.
Yeah, the country is too big, especially the countryside.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of countryside, like they were not educated that generation.
Okay.
So they only talking to each other. They don't have chances to talk to people using the official Mandarin.
Sure.
Let me check the whole.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we start. So, do you want to pitch anything, or we finish? Or?
I'm done. I mean, I don't
Okay.
know what you want to do with
Okay,
it, but
great.
you know, it's up
we
to you.
can put it back.
No, this is wonderful.
Anything you want to add before we?
What should I add?
Yeah. We talk about a lot of stuff.
You talked about a lot of stuff. It was really easy. Thank you. Yeah, when you said unedited, I was like, oh boy, okay. Like, usually I try to make myself sound good. You don't always, you know, you never, when you, my podcast, obviously, where it's like, there's times where we weren't as funny as I would have liked us to be, so it's edited, so the most funny things come out. I'm like, all right, this is very real. This is a real conversation, but I think we did well. Thank you so much.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. I guess yeah, we talk later and
yeah, keep in touch.
Yeah, it's
Lovely.
amazing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
thank you so
Rebecca.
much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.